Hello there, everybody, and welcome along then to round 9 of the 2015 Super League season. I am not your filthy little friend Simon Smith. No, I'm James Kirk, and I'll be with you for a part of the broadcast until our wonderful friend is able to get back from his ventures out in the big wide world. But don't worry, there is still a sense of belonging here as we have Mr. Thomas Hinds alongside me, Quinton playing on cameras. And firstly, welcome along, Tom. Nice to see you. Glad that you're here to
Yep.
keep me in line. And so far in qualifying, 6.5 minutes to go. And it's been looking like times of old. CSG and Midnight Motorsport looking very strong. Alex Cooper currently on top. I think they're in need of another few good results after what's been a bit of an average campaign so far.
Yeah, indeed. No, as we've seen throughout the season, Alex Cooper, he's been there or thereabouts. As we were saying at Silverstone, he's been since the Dark Knight. And, Dark Knight's probably the wrong term, but Dark Horse in a way. He's kind of always been just in the shadows, in that third or fourth spot, hanging around in the background. But there he is on pole at the moment. Originally, he's 0.088 ahead of Tom Parker, but it is very close at the front. But yes, they are looking improved, and of course, news for them is that in their second car at the moment, filling in fill-in driver is Sandeep Chota. So, yeah, interesting that he's filling in there at midnight. So expecting good things from him. He's in 15th at the moment, but still plenty of time to improve.
Little known fact, Alex Cooper actually Batman. I bet you didn't know that at home. Sandeep Chode, it's a very interesting story with Sandeep, isn't it? He's had a bit of a rough and ready start to the season in his Formula Challenge career, but he's looked at home in Super Cup cars, and he's got this call up to the Midnight outfit. By no means a little undertaking. They are still considered one of the powerhouses of Super League, despite a little bit of a disappointing season for them. But his debut with the group, as it is, was a little bit disappointing. He made his debut with Simcraft Racing yesterday in the Super Cup and only scored 3 points, if I can remember correctly. So he'll be hoping to do a little bit better in the Midnight car, with the other one on pole with 5 minutes to go. I just see David Feidek there for Hawkeye, having another strong campaign, really showing why he became the champion of Super League last year in 2014. He's currently sitting there in P2. And Tom Parker currently rounding out the top 3 for CSG Racing. He took his first podium last time out in Silverstone, which was astonishing drive and an astonishing race as well. Watching it from the safety of my own computer screen, I think that's probably one of the best Super League races I have seen, full stop. But looking good once again here at the Red Bull Ring. And behind them, an interesting story developing here. We've got Championship leader Philip Pushka in P4. And in P5 behind him, we now have a full-time replacement for Askari Kantonen. And it is Mr. Jerne Simoncic. And we've seen Jerne before, Tom, in many leagues, let alone GPVWC. And this Slovenian contender is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he's very, very fast. I know from experience, I was at Race Department, I've done a few broadcasts, and he competed in the historic Porsche Cup they did over there in the first season of that, and he was very fast up there competing at the front for the wins. So very, very fast driver, very experienced, and certainly knows his way around these cars, and he's showing it right now. He's jumped into the roll, and there he is in 5th spot, 2/10 off, although Pushka, there you go, just goes on the pole now with a 104.503. So Pushka just reassuring that dominance that he's shown all season. But Cooper, as I said, there he is in 2nd place, just off the pace. And Feidek, again, is there, as he always is. He's been there all season long. And then Parker in 4th, which I find interesting. He's beating Redshaw at the moment by a 10th of a second. But that is interesting. Of course, he'll have a big confidence boost after that Silverstone 3rd place. And what, as you said, was an absolutely fantastic drive. It really was an amazing drive in what was an incredible race. And yeah, he's doing really well at the moment, looking very, very strong. More shout-outs would be Canapino there. He's there in 6th spot, as sort of thereabouts once more. Missilis and Lopez, the 8th and 10th for Red Archer, a bit further down from where they were at Silverstone. But again, they're thereabouts, in the points. And also another little shout-out for Green Stripes, actually. They're in 11th and 15th at the moment. And they've got Daniel Brewer in there, by the way, who's a new driver for them. And Dewalt Nell is still there as well. But they're looking pretty good on pace, and certainly a lot stronger than they have been so far this season.
That's certainly the highest I've seen Nell in qualifying. I mean, it's a completely different race from qualifying to the race, as you and everyone else at home knows, especially if you watched the Super Cup yesterday. David Junt qualifying in 4th for race 1 fell like a stone down the order, unfortunately. So we'll hope Nell well. And I would love to see him scoring some points today. And of course, shout out to Daniel Brewer getting SC off the bottom of the Super Cup Championship last time out, or just yesterday and Wednesday as well. So we'll see how those two do. Looking good for them so far. With 2 minutes to go, Pushka still on top from Cooper. From Fidek, I saw, there he is, Mindaugas Columbus coming up to P10 for Torrent Motorsports, and it must be said Torrent's been on a bit of a torrid run, unfortunately, after such a good start to the season, all falling apart, and a shame for Jordan Weeks in particular as well. He just seems to get absolutely no luck after such a strong start to the season. He's still there in a decent point-scoring position in P14, but I'm sure that he'll be wanting to do a little bit better as up at the top. I think we were expecting to see this after his strong showing in free practice. Lewis Redshaw goes to the top in what was a very interesting race last year. He won it after controversy, but Philip Pushka, he is not letting go either. He retakes first position by 0.02 of a second. It's very close.
Yeah, indeed. No, that was a big comeback. That was a real quick reply from Pushka there. Redshaw goes top, and about 15 seconds later, Pushka's like, no, thank you very much. I will whip that back, and that'll be mine. Thank you very much. So very, very quick reply from Vodball driver as Simičić there nearly had contact with Daniel Brewer. He's trying to get out of his way there, and I think they had a little touch. So bit of a moment there for the new primary driver for Vodball, but he keeps going on.
Gone into third, though, I might point out. So it's a Vodball 1-3 at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and then Cooper there is in fourth. But look at how close it is. This reminds me a lot. I mean, it's been like this all season long, but especially of the first sort of 2 or 3 races, it's ridiculously close at the top. I mean, it's 2/10 down to 7th place. And then it's 3/10 down to 10. Top 10 is covered by 0.382 of a second. That's how close that is. And that is literally just a whisker of a gap. And the gaps, they start to spread a bit more when you get further down the field. But the whole field's only covered by about 2.7 seconds with Mike Belt at the moment, who is at Hawkeye now, by the way, driving for them here for this round. He's at the back there, 2.7 off the lead. But it's quite interesting how close that top sort of 10 is. It is ridiculously close in pace.
Yeah, it's one of the beauties of the Red Bull Ring, I feel. It's such a short circuit, and in many ways such a simple circuit. It's deceiving to many, and trust me, it takes a real driver's driver to master it. But it brings everyone together, and especially in Super League, where you have all these different upgrade options, where you have cars spreading out over the season, sometimes Constantinoing back. It's lovely to see that everyone's on roughly the same pace. Pushka on a 104.402, so he's actually extended his pole position once again as the timer clicks to 0, so everyone should be on their last laps, and Pushka, I think, has called it a day. But yeah, lovely to see everyone so close, as Lewis Redshaw actually in P2 just coming across the line now. This is his last lap, and no improvement from Redshaw. Fidek has actually spun out, I think, of the final corner. Yes, he has, so Fidek won't be improving. Is anyone there left to challenge Pushka? I think the last man out on track, I think is Florian Gaia here in P10. Crosses the line for Nordschen, and an improvement for him, but not enough to get him out of P10. So, for what is, quickly go to my wiki page, for the 4th time this season, he's really dominating qualifying sessions so far. It's our championship leader, Philip Pushka, on pole position.
Indeed, no, it was a strong session again from him. I mean, once more, just showing how strong that ball is. As we said, they're going to be people we're discussing this before the broadcast. They're going to be people to look out for because, as we said, Simičić is an extremely experienced sim racer. I reckon he's just as quick as Pushka, so he's got just as much pace as Pushka does. So I really do think that we're going to see Vodball really dominating now with these two pairings together. I think they're a very good pairing, and I think Vodball have really done well to get someone like Simičić with such a massive wealth of experience and pace. But yeah, no, very interesting. Pushka again there on pole. Redshaw, though, there he is again in second spot. Good stuff from him. Fidek again, third, once more. There or thereabouts. Same with Cooper. There or thereabouts, like they have been for pretty much the entire season. Barker, though, sixth spot. That's strong for him. Well done to him there to be in sixth spot. Only 2/10 off the pace. Renard to 7th and 8th. Good stuff to them. That's more solid results from them than the Norjones, 9th and 10th. So a bit of a pairing there. And they round out your top 10. Then it's Gaia, Columbus, Brewer, Tumala, and Riffle. And that's your top 14 there.
It must be noted, though, that Mikael Tumala coming into this event with a 10-place grid penalty. In fact, Nijo, I'm afraid that Chris Williamson might have been wincing coming into this event. Tumala with a 10-place grid penalty, so I believe he'll be starting in P23. Kay Liebert didn't even qualify because he has a 20-place grid penalty to serve. And actually thinking about it, let's have a little look here. I'm sure that Riffle was saying... No, he doesn't, sorry. The other guy with the 10th place is Sandeep Choda. He qualified in 16th, so he'll be starting 26th. So all those drivers will be falling down. I believe the final order then for the rest of the points going into race. It should be Riffle in 13th, Weeks in 14th, and Dewold Nell will be starting this race in P15. So a nice little bonus for Green Stripes, who've got both their drivers inside the top 15 come race start.
Indeed, no, they'll be very happy with that, Green Stripes. They've been, as we've said all season long, their development has been lacking. Will be kind. It's been lacking compared to the other teams, but they're looking to me like the cars really improved. The last few rounds have just been showing a bit of an improvement in pace, and they've really been coming to the fore. And it's shown again here with, as we said, Brewer there in 12th and DeWalt now there in 15th. So it's going to be good for them. They'll be in the chance for points, but we'll see how this goes. Because as we know, you can qualify well, but the race is a completely different beast. And especially here around Austria, a lot of chances for overtaking and passing and battles. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I'll be honest, I'm hoping that they can do well because they do need those points to just keep developing that car.
I just realised I should probably enter the room as a commentator so I can actually see what the tyres are. Because I'm not used. I'm not used to doing all this commentary shizzle. Anyway, let's just go through the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship and have a little quick look at our constructors as well, because we are halfway through the season now, into the business end, as they like to call it. So Philip Pushka, our championship leader, on 132, only 7 ahead of Lewis Redshaw, very close up the top, with David Fidek only 5 points behind his old teammate Redshaw on 120. Looking really spicy there. Canapino in 4th on 104. Alex Cooper on 83, Fran Lopez on 71, Florian Geyer on 63, Davidus Masilis on 51, Tom Parker on 39, and Petar Kasa rounding out the top 10 on 35, though, actually he shouldn't be there because Sven de Vries has had a higher position, so Sven de Vries, in 10th with 35, but it should be noted none of those drivers, or both those drivers, I don't believe are taking part in events anymore, and in fact, I don't think either target is here today. Tom, if you could verify that for me. So after that horror showing in Canada, not looking too good for them at all, which brings us into the constructors standing. CSG currently leading by 8 points from Norgen. Vodball only 2 points behind, so it's 178, 170, 168 for those 3 teams, and currently it's looking like CSG and Vodball looking the strongest here today. Hawkeye in 4th on 146, Midnight 5th on 126th, and then you have the rest of the field coming in. Red Archer a bit distant on 110 in terms of who's behind them. Target 50 points behind or so. So very close up the top, actually, which is quite a nice relief for Super League, because in years gone by, we haven't necessarily had this close order. And even once you have that split down to the bottom teams, it's very close down there as well. So all points are good points. And I think especially for the likes of CSG, of Vodball, who are looking a little bit on top of the pace in terms of Norgen, and for the likes of Green Stripes, who are in that scrap down the bottom, there could be some very interesting stories at the end of today.
Yeah, indeed. No, and as we're just mentioning teams, I was just put up our desktop app here we have for Super League, so we can see the development cycle. And interesting to note, the Vodball car apparently is that well developed. I can't actually see what the number is because it's outside
nice.
the table. So yeah, it's that well developed. I can't actually see what the number is. So that's why they're so strong. It's got a car that is just really well developed. A good chunk out of the rest of the field. In terms of everybody else, they're all sort of a bit chunked together. It's actually interesting to know Green Stripes has actually come up to sort of be... They're still the worst developed car, but it's by nowhere near as bad of a margin as it was earlier in the season. So they're a lot closer to the rest of the field, which is why they're showing good pace here at this round. So this is good stuff for Green Stripes. The development is finally kicking in. They're finally being able to improve this car and really proper fight to the rest of the field. And CSG and Midnight, they're pretty close as well on development. A lot of the field is kind of between about 430 and sort of 350. That's where most of the field is in development. So the development race is quite close, and I think that is helping to promote this really tight pace we're seeing in qualifying, and hopefully we're going to see it in the race too. Because if that pace is anything to go by, I think we could have a very interesting race with a lot of passing, a lot of battles. And I'm really interested to see how this will go. And as we said, you've got Simchich here now. You've got Brewer as well. A couple of new faces in the field, and a couple of people at different teams. So we've kind of got a bit of a different sort of field here. And I'm really interested to see how they go here in this, their first Super League race.
Well, how about this for a curveball as well, Tom? We have rain here in warm up. Only a little sprinkling.
No.
But we do have rain.
Oh.
So what does this do to the drivers? They've been practicing in the dry on server all 2 weeks long. this is the first sign we have seen of rain at the Red Bull Ring this year. So I wonder who has potentially prepared for it. Jordan Weeks going to break Parc Ferme. So showing just what drastic options people might be taking. Very interesting scenes. Very interesting scenes.
Yeah.
I'm getting rubbing my hands together for this one.
I'm just actually looking at the desktop app, and it does say that apparently Thursday, a couple of evening showers, and Friday, more clouds than sun, and Wednesday was a couple of showers as well. So it looks like there's been a little bit of lingering rain in the later half of the week, according to the AccuWeather we have here on the desktop app, which gives us kind of a guideline for the weather, of course, although being the weather plugin, it can be a little bit unpredictable at times. It kind of does its own thing, but that gives us a guide of what we're expecting. It does look like that it's saying there's a small chance of rain, but that's a real curveball. We saw it at Silverstone. It shook things up so much at the last round, and it was just such a shock, I think, to everyone of how much it shook everything up. Of course, you had people making mistakes, and it really affected people like Fran Lopez, of course, and Lewis Redshaw, and a few people like that. So, yeah, as you say, it could really throw a curveball in the works and really make this a very fascinating race, because it might even bring, a few of the blokes like Kerno and teams like that have sort of struggled on pace. They might suddenly come a bit more to the fore in the rain. Maybe they're prepared for it. You never know. So we will find out, though, in the about 3 minutes' time.
Just a bit of confirmation here. So Jordan Weeks will start from pit lane. To be fair, in this sort of weather, not exactly a bad start, though we can't guarantee that this weather shall continue over. Yeah, it's not looking heavy enough for intermediates. And if you are new here watching the Super League for this season, then we have 4 types of tyre. We have the option tyre, which is fastest but degrades the most. We have the prime tyre, which is white marked, so option red, prime is white. That lasts longer but is slower. We then have the green marked intermediate tyre, which is effectively the wet tyre for all other series here at the league. And then we have the blue, what I like to call the monsoon tyre, as really you need super heavy rainfall. We have seen it a couple of times this year, no less at a last race at Silverstone, where the rain was all over the place. But going to be very interesting to see where people go from this and who has actually prepared, maybe who's thought there might be a chance. And I am wondering whether perhaps the top teams have done a compromise, and maybe that's why Green Stripes is so far up. I'm just throwing out ideas here as our race director, Chris Williamson, just gives the drivers a little reminder of the tyre rules. And we'll give you a little reminder at home as well. So if we have a completely dry race, you have to use both the sets of dry tyres. So that's the red marked option and the white marked prime. If it rains at any point during this race, it's free game. You can go option, intermediate, and then use options right to the end. It is your choice. So it will be very interesting to see where everything goes. You've got 1.5 minutes left of warm-up. Is it too hard to call a winner at this point, Tom?
I really do think it is a case of that, because as we saw, the pace was so close to qualifying. I think anyone in the top 10 realistically could have a shot, really, let's be honest, especially the top 5, however. But I don't know, I'm gonna go, it's tough, but I'm gonna go Pushka, I think, this time round. Phone just having a bit of a message. I'm gonna go Pushka, I think, because he's, as we saw last round, he was, I think, 11th, of course, on the grid because of the penalty he had to serve at the last round. He still came through and won the race quite commandingly too, I might add. And with how well that car is, how well developed it is, and how fast it is, I really do think that he's still going to be quite strong. So I'm going to back Pushka, but look out for Simchich, look out for Redshaw, even Canapino, Cooper, Parker. Even the Red Archers, they weren't far off the pace. So it could be anyone's game, especially if it rains, but I think I'll pick Pushka, but, expect anything here for this one.
I've got an ability here to go 1 for 1 and have a 100% perfect record, so I've got to choose carefully. And I think I'm going to go Pushka as well, I'm thinking back to Silverstone, when the conditions were at their most difficult, and the 2 drivers who came through that the best were Philip Pushka, who ended up winning the race, and Agustin Canapino. And Pushka had the pace on Canapino all race long. He just, he controlled the race perfectly. And we look here at the Red Bull Ring on dry pace alone. Pushka's taken pole position, Canapino ninth. So I'm just using basic stats and a little bit of punditry to inform my choice. At the end of the day, though, I'm pretty much with Tom on this one. Anyone in the top 10, or maybe even outside of the top 10, could win this race. You just need one lapse of concentration, one moment flying off the track, two drivers getting in a tangle, and all of a sudden you find yourself much further up the order than you expect. So everyone just saying their glass and helps before we move into the race session. If you want to get in contact with us lot, then feel free to mention my personal Twitter handle at KirkyLife. That's at KirkyLife. Or use our wonderful hashtag here at the league. It's hashtag GPVWC Live, hashtag GPVWC Live, and we shall try and get to you, if not during the race, then after.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
It's raining.
It is raining. So,
oh, yes.
free tyre choice. And I'm just going to have a little look at our weather tool here. It's buffering, so I'm not quite sure whether we'll have exactly what sort of weather. Okay, having a look at it here. Looks currently like it's an intermediate weather. And I wouldn't be surprised. Interesting. Oh, you could see people going onto the grid and seeing, oh, it's raining.
Yep.
Coming back in and trying to decide which tyres to go on. Yeah, it's very much a middle ground at the moment between inters and wet compound tyre area. 71 laps to come. I am very excited to see how this race turns out. It's Philip Pushkin then for Vodbull Racing who leads us off on pole position with Lewis Redshaw, his second championship contender here, second place championship contender, I should say, in second place for CSG Racing. It's actually 1-2-3 in the championship, ending up as 1-2-3 on the grid with David Feider coming up in P3 for Hawkeye Racing. And Jene Simoncic, we welcome him back to GPVWC and we welcome him to the Super League. The Slovenian rounds out the top four for Vodbull Racing. Alex Cooper starts P5 for Simcraft and Midnight Motorsport with Tom Parker P6 for CSG. And then in these wonderful wet conditions, we have a Noah's Ark rounding out the top 10. We have Davidus Misilis and Fran Lopez for Red Archer, and Agustin Canapino and Florian Gaia 9th and 10th for Nordschen. Mindaugas Columbus will start P11 with the top Torrent, and Daniel Brewer, a very excellent first effort for him on his Super League debut. P12 for Green Stripes. Marcus Riffel behind him, the Brazilian who's had his fair share of encounters this season already. P13 for Adonis Engineering. And Jordan Weeks, I remind you, starting from pit lane after breaking Parc Ferme. So it will be Derald Nell starting P14 for Green Stripes. That is his highest starting position of the year, with Bart de Vos on the cusp of points now for Kernau. Can he get some more for the English-based team from P15? Roy Stroton is atop Woods, P17, with James Johnson, P17 for Adonis. We have Mark Wixon, I believe, his highest qualifying of the year, P18 for Kernau. And then we have Kieran Ryan on the wet compound tyre, interestingly, for Phoenix. He's P19 with Mike Bell, P20, switching over from Adonis to Hawkeye this round. He's also on the wets. Yartayan starts P21 for Woods. Mikhail Tumala, after a 10th place, starts P22 for Nijo. Is what's going on?
Sorry,
Yakinen, sorry.
Yakinen's round on the formation lap. He's on the wet, and he's escaped the garage.
Interesting.
So start from the pit lane, I'd assume, but that's interesting. He was on the wet tyre, and look at how he switched to the inters. There you go. So
quickly ran down the grid, sorry. Choda P24 and Liebert starting P25 then with Yakinen from the pits. But yeah, very interesting to see that people have already regretted their decision going onto the wets. I think the rain is coming down a little, so I think the guys on Inters have called it right. We look up to the lights now with 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights in here at the Red Bull Ring. We're racing, and I think that was a jump start from Parker there. It was either that or a great start. People sliding off the line. Mixed starts, but the best start goes to Lewis Redshaw and Tom Parker. The CSG's lightning off the line as Lewis Redshaw takes the lead. Here goes Parker up the inside of Pushka, and it's a CSG 1-2 before they've even reached turn 2. Fran Lopez also with a lightning start up into P4. Mindaugas Clumps with a good start. Alex Cooper falling down the order as he head up into Remus now, and people already going deep at turn 2. There's a little bit of contact throughout the field. That is to be expected. And I think Columbus and the Vos there have gone out wide. So a shame for those two as they look to get back on track. Oh dear. Contact with the Woods there, I see. But Lewis Redshaw looking very good here. Tom Parker falling into second. Fran Lopez here trying to get on the inside and outside of Pushka. Not able to do anything just yet, though. The Voppel driver holding on. for dear life. And I tell you what, Fran Lopez's teammate, David Asmisalis, he's also had a wonderful start up to P5. So Red Archer preparing for these situations very well. Fidek down to 6th, Simic down to 7th, Canopino up to 8th. Cooper all the way down to 11th. Don't know what's happened to him there, but look at Daniel Brewer. Oh, contact!
Oh, no.
Contact between Gaia and Cooper is well off. I didn't quite see whose fault that was, but it just seemed like a racing incident to me on the exit of the Verth curve. Drama here as Parker's in. Parker's in for some reason. Jordan Weeks out already.
Yep.
But after a crazy first lap, it's then Redshaw who leads from Pushka, Lopez, Misalis, Simicic, Bider, Canapino, Brewer, Ripple, and Johnson up into P10.
Oh, that is crazy start. I was just looking through the field trying to pick up incidents. Kieran Ryan doesn't have a front wing. He's dropped back. Alice Cooper is down in 23rd at the moment. Columbus, he lost his front wing as well. He's had to pit as well. So there's 2 people having to pit now from lost front wings. Phoenix, it seems the nightmare continues after the last round as they're at the back of the field there after a bit of a weak start. But it has been all chaotic as Sennick Troda there makes a mistake in 14th. He might get swallowed up by DeWalt Nell now as they go down the back straight. But there you go, DeWalt Nell in 15th. And Daniel Brewer, as you said, in 7th. So green stripes here. Big benefit. And Red Archer, 3rd and 4th. So this is looking like they might even have sort of a repeat of Silverstone. After qualifying in the back end of the 10, there they are. And Adonis, by the way, as you said, 8th and 9th. This is crazy.
Confirmation, Tom Parker. That was a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. So a real shame there for Tom. Looking down at P10 now, though. Look at this. David Fidek under all sorts of pressure, on a threat of running out the top 10. Mikael Tumala all the way up from P21 or something to P11. A great start from the Finn. Bart DeVos there in 13th. Sandeep Choda, P14, and as you say, Delwell Nell into P15. Mark Wicks on the cusp of the points as well. So extraordinary scenes here. I didn't see how Jordan retired, but the man just has no luck at all. As up at the front, what's going on there? Oh, Gaia going wide, turn 1 in P14 there. He's lost out a whole host of positions. So Choda up to 12, DeVos up to 13th, Gaia down to 14th. As up at the front, Canapino in P4 has just tried to say Lopez. Oh, contact between the two and Lopez. How did he save that? It looked like he was doing the wiggly woo. And here comes Cerne Simincic now, looking up the inside of the Red Archer driver. And that's a pretty nice move from the Slovenian, nice and measured. Fran Lopez will look up the inside, though. He's going to have a look around the outside of Raunchcaller, surely, if he's not already ahead. I think he is. No, Jerne going to put it up the inside there. And a nice move from the Slovenian. All action off the start here. You really don't know where to look.
No, indeed, yeah. It's been an absolutely chaotic start here to this race. There's a big pack now behind Simincic there. He's actually in 5th spot, so, you know, solid stuff from him. I will just sort of give him a little shout-out. First race in Super League, and he's just in absolute chaotic times. It's just crazy. So a good welcome to you, Munich. I'm sure this is about the wildest welcome he's ever had. Riffle just goes wide there at the last corner, but Adonis Engineering, 8th, 9th, as we said, they're looking very good. And then Fidek's dropped down to 10th for Hawkeye. Missed consistency, not so much here in the rain, but these conditions are just crazy. Just a quick shout as well to Kerno. They're in 13th and 17th, so they're looking pretty good. And Wicks is actually on the back of DeWalt Nell now for 16th. So Kerno just seeming to be strong in these wet conditions.
Jerne Simincic just had a little go at Canapino there in turn 1. Went horribly wrong. Went over the nasty turn 1 anti-cut, which has claimed so many this season already. It went wrong for him, and he's now down to P6 as Canapino and Lopez ahead going to combat. Canapino just coming out on top for now. These two very aggressive drivers, and Simincic will be wary to just be a little bit careful to hold his line maybe and see what goes on up ahead. Shout out to Daniel Broom. P7 is Fran Lopez. Looks like the inside, of Augustin Canapino for 4th, looking very close there. And I noticed that Sandeep Choda has fallen down to P14. He was in battle with Tumala. And I think he just went deep at turn 2. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. And yeah, he just spun round, unfortunately. A bit of contact with DeVos. So Joda now down to 14th. Tom Parker, by the way, after serving his drive-through penalty, now up to P12. Just getting up back past Bart DeVos through Rint. A lovely move there from the Englishman. So the CSG driver working straight round as Tumala up ahead. A little bit of a slide there. And I think Tom Parker might want to be having a look down the inside of Castrol Edge here. That's a nice move done. So Parker back up into P11 as going back up to his battle for P4. You can't get your eyes away from it. Simincic now back up into P5. Had a little cheeky look on the inside of Canapino. Nothing doing. Contact between Simincic and Lopez. They've got to be careful because look at this. Daniel Brewer and Marcus Riffle. It would have been Fran Lopez a few rounds ago, wouldn't it? These two heroes for teams at the bottom. They are looking at some mighty points here as Simoncic drawn, Canapino up ahead. He's up into P4.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, they're a good move on Canapino, around up the inside. Canapino looking to come around the outside, but good luck on that in these conditions. Fran Lopez, look at him. He's just like a hound there, just wanting that blood, wanting to get through here and keep chasing his teammate Missless, who's in third. And this is another strong performance from him so far. He did this at Silverstone and obviously got that very, very solid fourth place for him. It was a very impressive race. He's doing it again for Red Archers. Fran goes down the inside and Canapino leaves the room. So Fran up to fifth. A very submissive from Canapino there. I suspect he knows it's early race. It's very tricky conditions. There's no need to be doing really risky moves. Let's just get through these early stages, get through the, this early half, and then settle down, and we'll start to fight there. But he's got Daniel Brewer on the back of him now. Who, as we said, strong race from him in 7th spot for Green Archer. Green Stripe, sorry. This is dizzying heights, you could say, for them. But they continue to go along. Bart DeVos, by the way, still is... Oh, hello, there goes Mikkel Tumala there at the turn 1. He's dropped down to 14th now. Just a little moment on the exit, and that's going to drop him even further as Guy will get him as well. And he now drops to 15th for Nijo, so more woes for them. Woods, by the way, nearly in the points. Jarl there is in 16th, so he's nearly in the points. But yeah, this is drama stuff. Is obviously Columbus out of the race, so we've got 2 out. Columbus and Weeks are the 2 retirements. So Torrance double retirement here, so the woes continue for them, and hopefully they can improve next round. But it is still Lewis Redshaw leading 1.3 clear of Pushka, but I tell you what, Pushka's right there, and he will not let up.
No, absolutely, and we've got plenty of stories to potentially develop as this race goes on. Will the rain stop? Will the rain increase? I'll tell you what is happening. Journey Simoncic here is going down the inside of Missilis for P3. Contact between the two. Missilis just about holding on. Yerne getting his elbows out. And that's move done. He is up into P3. And I tell you what, Missilis could be under a lot of pressure here from Fran Lopez, now his own teammate. I don't know whether Missilis just had a really poor sector. In fact, he just lets off the accelerator to let Fran through. Where has the pace gone? Because he was comfortably ahead of these two.
Yeah, indeed. No, I think it was just Sionik just seems to be really comfortable in this car. Really, I just think he's that comfortable. Look at this, Fran's coming in now. So Fran looking to come through the field. I'll be interested to see how he goes. I mean, obviously we go, Ionik's gone wide, and that gives Fran the chance.
Oh, and misses his round!
Misses round, yeah. Right in the background, he's going to drop down 6th, 7th, 8th. Yeah, he drops to 8th behind Riffle, so not a disaster. He didn't have any damage, but there's who's that? Is that Tom Parker?
Oh, it's Parker. Yeah, it's Parker.
Parker in the wall, yeah. Oh,
just gonna have a look here.
It is so slippery out there. These guys are absolutely tippy-toeing round. And this is just unbelievable stuff here at this round. It is, unbelievable.
The rain has increased, and that might be what helped Parker along with his woes. That's James Johnson there in P12 falling down the order as well. I don't know whether he's had a slight wiggle as well, but the rain is increasing. So I do wonder whether we are going to see the wet tyre coming out this early on in the race. Of course, we're on to lap 8 with the leaders. Lewis Redshaw 1.6 ahead of Philip Pushka, so still very close. It's only about 6 seconds back to Fran Lopez and Yerne Simoncic. And Missilis, unfortunately, after that spin, down to P8. He's now getting back past Marcus Riffle, though, into P7. Seemed like a rather nice and easy move there, but just to give you a little idea of how much these points positions for Green Stripes and Adonis mean, Green Stripes only and highest finishing position of the year so far is an 11th. Of course, Adonis Engineering have done a little bit better. They've got a P9 for them. Sorry, they've got a P2 for themselves. Ooh. Sorry, with Fran Lopez, but still good points for Riffle.
Yeah, sorry, just to butt in there, but Riffle, as you were just mentioning, just went round. He's dropped down to 9th now, behind David Fidek. So I think he made a mistake into the hairpin, and he's now dropped down to 9th spot. So more mistakes coming through. This weather is just getting worse and worse as we look like he went a bit wide there too. He's having a look at Fidek, who just seems to be really struggling in that Hawkeye. He just does not look comfortable at all.
Missilis.
Consistency.
Missilis up ahead, sorry, in P7. He's gone wide at Raunch, and he's gone very wide into the gravel trap, into the kitty litter he goes. Fidek and Riffle go past. Tom Parker past, so Tom Parker thankfully not retiring. And Bart DeVos then going through into P10. Missilis back on the road in P11. Really difficult conditions for our drivers. Potentially a little bit too difficult for Redshaw as well. The gap now down to 1.1 seconds at the top.
Indeed, Pushka's really pushing in that car. As we said, we've said how well developed that car is, and it's showing right now. As Fran Lopez, by the way, has gotten past Simoncic as well into 3rd spot for Red Archer. So he's looking very strong, Fran, in these conditions. Unlike his teammate, who seems to be really struggling. As actually, speak of struggling, Bart DeVos has gone wide at turn 1. It's going to give Missilis a chance here to get back into 10th spot, and he takes him there down the straight. So good move from Missilis as Bart makes a bit of a mistake, but Oh, he's so difficult to drive these things. Oh no, Choda's round. Choda's round at turn 1. He's dropped
Oh,
his
he's lost his front wing.
Yeah, lost his front wing. He's dropping down 18th now as he drops down the field. I'm not sure what happened. I'll just go back on the replay and see. It was his own mistake. Oh, just lost it on the exit.
That's
in the
bizarre
wet.
as well. He didn't even hit the anti-cut.
Yeah,
oh, and
I
almost
think
took out Tumala. Goodness me.
Yeah, I really think it was just too much power too soon. These conditions are that slippery, and as we said, it's getting worse. I think it was just a case of just too much power too soon, and round he goes. So poor Sandeep is going to have to limp around to the pits, but he's still in the race. And with how this race is going, I mean, this could be a bit of a high toll if it keeps going, but he's still in the race. So if he struggles around, he can get back, repair, and maybe he'll keep going and fight back later in the race.
We've had our third retirement. Miko Yakinen, unfortunately, the ex-Super League champion, out with suspension damage. I'm very interested in this battle up the top, though, now, Tom. Under a second between the two. I think Pushka's on a bit of a charge as we are nearing wet tyre conditions now. It's going to be very interesting to see if anyone wants to pull the trigger and maybe make a masterstroke or a complete calamity in terms of strategy.
Yeah, indeed. No, you're very right. It's getting to that stage again. It's just like Silverstone, really, in a way. It's a bit more consistent here, though. Of course, Silverstone, it was kind of off, on, a bit sort of all over the place, but a bit more consistent. But it is just slowly rising, and this is where we get the who's practiced, who knows the part to switch over to the right tyre. And it'll be really interesting to see as Pushka, as we've seen, is right behind Lewis Redshaw now. It's 7/10 of seconds. Redshaw seems to be struggling in these conditions. And I'm interested to note that I reckon Lopez is keeping with the leaders there. He's actually gapped Jurnek a little bit. He's got about a second on Simoncic, and it's a bit of a gap back to Canapino in 5th, and that's Brewer now in 6th for Green Stripe. So Brewer really impressing here after a long time absence from R Factors, really impressing, and DeVos in 8th as he keeps going around. So
DeVos has got past Parker.
Yep.
I just also want to note that Marcus Riffle's gone off the road from inside the top 10. Did exactly what Misslis did when wide at Raunch. He's back on the road in P13. So Misslis back into the top 10 after going off the road and spinning, might I remind you. Gaia 12th with Johnson 11th, Riffle 13th. Crazy, crazy conditions. As you say, though, we are on the very edge here. And I'm wondering whether Fran's got any pace in the locker. Because I'm noticing Simoncic starting to catch up a little bit more now. And if anything, Fran's actually falling away from the leaders.
Yeah, indeed. No, I think maybe just the weather is really coming to the fore. As again, he looks like he's just struggling a little bit. But yeah, this is where the experience comes in. And we saw with Pushka last round, he just seemed to excel even in the most difficult conditions. He just seems to be the master of just reading the conditions and being able to drive to the conditions as he showed at Silverstone. He's showing it here again. He's keeping with Redshaw, though Redshaw's just managed to gap him out again to about another second again. He's that gap to the lead, and it's about 10 seconds back to Fran. And then Simoncic actually dropped back a bit. I think he made a bit of a mistake in the middle sector there. And you've got Canapino still there, and then still Brewer. And shout out to Bart DeVos is in 8th for Kerno, so this is good points for them if they can keep it up. James Johnson in the top 10 at the moment for Adonis, and then Marcus Riffle is 12th for Adonis, so 10th to 12th. Yep. I think that they'll be very happy with that if they can keep that up. As our cameraman points out, apparently it's slowly decreasing the rain now.
Yes. Missilis, by the way, went off the road again, this time at my favourite corner on the Red Bull Ring, Slush Gold. You can make as many jokes about that one as you want. He went basically into the gravel trap once again, still in P13. So not too far behind the Riffle Gaia battle, and then behind the P14 and P15 slots are now occupied by the two Nijo cars. So looking good for the two Nijos, and Roy Stroton in quite close pursuit, as well as the gap up front has now reopened to 1 second. But I think perhaps the closest battle on track at current moment is that battle for P8. Bart DeVos trying to hold off Tom Parker for dear life. And let me tell you, one car is certainly more impressive than the other at this stage of the season. As, just behind Florian Gaia's gone off the road at Remus at turn 2. So Marcus Riffle is now securely in P11, and Missilis is back through to P12 as Tom Parker looking to eye up a move into Raunch, and he's going to go for it.
Oh.
And that was a late call from the Englishman, but a very nice move done. Bart DeVos giving him plenty of room. Good, clean racing between the two. Tom Parker back up into 8th.
Yeah, indeed. No, I think Bart probably saw that coming. And again, in these conditions, if you've got a good head on your shoulders, you'll know that you don't do really close fighting, especially in these conditions when you're just struggling to keep the car on the track in the first place. So I think smart stuff there from Bart. I think he might have been expecting a move because he obviously has noticed that Parker is quicker than him in pace. So he's just sort of let him just go through, not giving him the space, and he'll just live to fight another day at this point. Because I mean, if they can just get some good points here, Kerno, they will really help their development race for them. So he'll just be wanting to keep consistent, keep out of trouble, and get those points rolling through. So that'll be his objective this race as we keep going along here. That gap at the lead, 1.2 seconds now. It's 11 seconds back, or nearly 12 seconds back to Fran Lopez, who's still holding on to Simincic, and actually Canapino seems to be just slowly catching up to Simincic, though he runs wide there.
Just want to draw your attention, to P6 as well, Tom, as David Fidek here. He's been on a bit of a charge through the field after a very poor start. He's just gone through on Daniel Brewer for P6 and P7 down into Slosh Gold. Lovely move from our reigning champion. I think it's quite a nice, safe bit of driving from Brewer. He's in a mightily good position for green stripes. No need to battle too hard.
Yeah, indeed. No, he's doing the smart thing. Same as Bart. They're both doing the smart thing. Just, stay out of trouble. Let's get the points. Let's survive. Let's not get ourselves in any sort of an accident or an incident from defending too hard. So smart stuff from Brewer there. He's still going along in 7th spot. He's got Parker coming up to him now, so I'm sure Parker will close in the near future. He showed good pace in the dry, and he's showing good pace here in the wet. But yeah, interesting to see that Fidek's beginning to seem to get more comfortable with the conditions now. He's still slowly losing time to the leaders, but he's just getting a bit more comfortable in the conditions and beginning to get that consistency back again that he's famous for, really, is his main thing of just how consistent he is. And he's now in 6th spot. He's got a bit of a gap up to Canapino. It's about 5 seconds, but I know, knowing Fidek and knowing how consistent he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to just chip away at that gap, as it's now 1.3 seconds at the front.
All looking very good here on lap 14 of 71. It's very much a long haul race here. And it's going to be a long haul for the two Adonis guys as well here. James Johnson in P10. Starting to have his teammate Marcus Riffle coming back in him now. JJ, you don't see him up in the points often, but we're all big fans of him. That's what the JJ fan club was created for.
Yep.
And what would be going through his head here? He's got a chance to put one over his teammate, but at the same time, team-wise, this is very good points on offer.
Yeah, indeed. I think just in his mind it would just be survive. I know in my mind, in these conditions, it'd just be survive, stay out of trouble, and just try and keep, stay in the points, keep your position. But don't fight too hard. You could, as he has a little bit of an oversteer moment, that's going to give Riffle a chance. And Missilus is on this too. They're not going to go 3 wide. Oh, JJ there, very smart. He backed out of that. He saw that coming. 3 wide in the dry down there is risky enough. In the wet, that is just crazy town. But he saw that coming, thankfully, pulled out. And again, smart driving from JJ. He goes, I'll live another day and keep going later on. As now Missilus going for Riffle around the outside in turn 1. So he'll be brave if he does this move.
Oh, what a nice move.
He makes it. Yeah,
what a great move.
It's JJ. On his own teammate. This is fantastic fighting. I reckon JJ might have a shot here down on the hairpin.
Up to Remus we come then. Missilus now nicely putting away, and it looks like everyone's quite happy just stay status quo through there, though obviously if any mistake is made, then any driver will be looking to pounce on that behind Gaia P13. Coming all sorts of pressure from the green swarm behind him. Tumala and Liebert really starting to catch up to the German, fighting over P13 there. I'm just thinking a little bit about when do guys start to pit for tyres? Because in the Super Cup, the options lasted about 25 laps. I'd imagine it would be roughly the same in Formula Challenge as well. It's lap 16 now, so surely next 10 laps we might be seeing people in?
Yeah, I'd be guessing they'd be in the sort of next 10 laps or so. It'd be my guess on the Inters, because I'd suspect that there'd be similar wear rate to the option would be my guess. I'm just going off sort of general experience, but that's just me guessing. But we will see. But again, there might be tactics. People might stop early. They might try some sort of undercut strategy, maybe. They might try and predict the weather. As Lopez getting a bit of oversteer on the exit for 3rd. That's going to give Simincic a chance here down to the right-hander. He's right behind him. Fran's getting a bit of oversteer. That's really compromised his exit. Simincic looks to the inside. He's going to make a move, takes the dive, and Fran leaves the space. He'll go for the switchback here and try and get back around the outside. Good move from Fran. He's back up the inside again. But he'll be on the outside for the next corner. So these two are going to be side-by-side through here. He's going to hold it too, is he? So contact there. Fran has a bit of oversteer moment, but Simincic makes the move in the end. A bit of a tap to get it done, but he gets it done. And now he's up to 3rd for Vodball. So 2nd and 3rd for Vodball now, but I'm sure Fran, knowing Fran, he won't give up without a fight.
Yeah, I don't feel that was too intentional from Simincic. Just he got a little bit on the grass and he was a little bit loose through Raunch, unfortunately. And Fran Lopez, thankfully, not suffering too much because of that little tap. Still there in 4th. I think Canapino is slowly but surely starting to reel these guys back in again. Perhaps trying to ebb into the conditions as they happen. David Fidek then P6. Daniel Brewer P7. And you predicted this, Tom. Tom Parker now starting to have a little eye on P7 there.
Yeah, indeed. No, look at him. He's right behind Brewer. He's been closing, and look at that. Brewer gets a bad exit, and that's going to give Parker the position. There he goes through, and again, Brewer gives him the space, lets him go through. Nothing too drastic on defence there, but again, I think that's just smart play from Brewer. And interesting to note, Bart's still there. He's only lost a few seconds to Parker. I thought he'd drop off a bit more, but he's not dropped off too badly. He's got about 8 seconds back to missless, so good signs for Bart. He's showing pretty decent pace there in the Kerno, and now it's Parker on Fidek now, as Fidek is also, of course, trying to still come through the field. But it looks to me like Parker's got a much stronger car in these conditions than Fidek. So this will be interesting to see. Also, I'm just going to quickly shout out, Alex Cooper is in 17th. He's been fighting through the field after his shenanigans on the start. He's just about to catch up to the back of Roy Schroten, and he'll be back in the points soon if he keeps this rate. So, bit of a disaster start for Simcraft. They are slowly fighting through, and hopefully for Alex Cooper's sake, he can get back in the points and keep his championship fight alive.
Looking at Tom Parker now for P6 and P7. He's going to look up the inside of Rint, and he's stuck it up there. And he's got it done. A really nice move from the Englishman. A great comeback drive so far from a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. Back up into P6, though surely David Fidek will want to have a little look into Castrol. Edge, no, going to keep it out of harm's way. Shout out to Nijo, by the way. The two of them have both done Florian Gaia. So Gaia down to 15th. And in that little melee, Liber's now got on the head of Tumala. So Liber into 13th, Tumala into 14th. As the rain is coming up again, and it is dangerously wavering on wet tyre conditions. We're on lap 18 of 71 here. Again, I'm interested to see if anybody's looking to pull the trigger, as David Fidek is actually back past Tom Parker. Let's see what happened there. Oh yeah, Tom Parker got a little bit of a twitch out of turn 2. Unbelievably, David Fidek was able to get back past, and then Tom Parker straight back through again. Great racing between the two of these guys.
Yeah, indeed. No, they're fighting very hard. I mean, again, these are very tricky conditions, so mistakes, I'm sure, are going to be relatively common, as we've seen, because they're just so hard to fight these cars in the dry in general, let alone in the wet when the conditions are deteriorating even further. But keep in mind, Daniel Brewer is kind of hanging on the back of this, and Bart DeVos is actually catching on as well as these guys are going along. So I think Bart might even try and challenge for 8th here, which is, again, really good for Kerno. And then, of course, you've got Missless behind. He's slowly catching on as well. They're all kind of clustering together in the back end of the 10 there, and it's a bit of a gap back to Riffle. And Liber's actually gotten, Liber, sorry, I better get that right. He's gone Liber, sorry.
I'm here now.
He's just gone past JJ, so he's in 12th now. Old Kenny, he's just got past JJ, and then it's a bit of a gap back to Florian. So JJ's still there in the points, so he's seeming to be he's struggling a bit on pace, it would seem. Obviously qualified down the field a bit. I don't think he really has the pace to hang on to the back of the 10, but he is still in the points, and if he can just keep it clean, points should be on the cards.
Battle for the bottom very much on now. Bart DeVos has gotten past Daniel Brewer already into P8. So the Kernow driver, lightning pace out of nowhere. These wet conditions were really starting to suit him. And, well, the Kernow has not been this high in a couple of seasons, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. No, I mean, again, as I said, with development, these development cycle is getting very close now with these cars, and Kernow and Greenstripes are starting to get a car that's really competitive once, for probably the first time this whole season, especially in Greenstripes' case. So it's really showing here, as you can see, Brewer here going along quite well in 9th. His pace isn't brilliant, but he's consistent, and that's what's really helping him right now. He's got a nice 6-second gap or so to Missiles, although he is closing it in. He's got another gap back to Riffle, but again, he's comfortably in the 10, and if he just keep it clean, keep consistent, points should be on the cards, especially if others make mistakes, which I'm sure in these conditions is going to happen. I mean, it's just going to happen whether people like it or not. Also, by the way, there's a battle for third, reigniting between Lopez and Simoncic. Simoncic around the outside at the hairpin, gets lovely. It done. Nice move, although Fran holds on, but no, Simoncic gets the exit. And that's a nice move from him there, as they're still fighting here for this third spot while we've been looking down the field. They're still going along. And also the gap at the lead now 3.6. So Red Shaw has just been opening that gap, eking it out on Pushka. I'll tell you what, he's looking very comfortable in that car. That CSG looks like it is set up very well.
As there's a little movement down the bottom actually here. Mikhail Tumala, I believe, has made a mistake from P14. He is now fallen down behind Gaia and Cooper. So Cooper now back in the points in P15. And interesting to note, he's going to be a little bit of out of sync with everyone, because he would have had brand new intermediate tyres after his little bit of contact, unfortunately. So we'll see what Cooper can do from here. There is evidently points on the card for sure.
Yeah, indeed. No, now he's in the points. As I said, he's been charging through the field. He's been slowly but surely eking back after his mistake at the start. He's looking good on pace, so he's got the pace, and again, on qualifying, he showed that. He was in the top 6 once again. As always, has been Cooper, just in the background again, in the shadows, just working away for midnight, and there he is again. He's back in the points after that bit of a disastrous start. Start. I don't know what shot is. That's a new word I've just made. But that battle for third still going. Fran trying to get past Simoncic there at the hairpin again.
Well,
Simoncic holding on. And look at that. Look who's behind that. Canapino is closing. Do we have a three-way fight for third coming? I think we do.
that wasn't so clear-cut, Tom, actually. Fran was ahead of Simoncic, and then Simoncic had the mightiest of lag spikes. Fran had no idea where he was, and Simoncic came out in front. Thankfully, no one under too much harm, but Fran was actually pulling away at that point. Yeah, Yernik just off he went. So all drivers very lucky. And, oh, Fran, what a save that was. Out of the first curve. Really on the edge here is Fran Lopez, and Augustin Canapino is going to be rubbing his hands together, isn't he? He's going to be thinking, oh, these guys are starting to struggle. Maybe now is my moment.
Yeah, indeed, no, I agree. And Canapino, he's shown really good pace this season, as we know. He's up there in the championship, and he's a very quality driver, of course. So, and he's looking good in these conditions. That Nordjohn's looking very, very nice. So, but better than his teammate, it seems Gaia, who's actually got James Johnson just behind him. I think he might have just got back past him.
Yeah.
Seems to be struggling a bit in these conditions. That Nordjohn does look very, very nice, especially in the hands of Canapino. So keep that in mind. And Parker, by the way, is still there in 6th. He's 10 seconds back. He's showing good pace. So keep an eye out for him to maybe come in, especially if these three, start fighting. He'll really come back at them. Expect him to maybe be a factor as the laps wear on. I'm just thinking we don't have any more retirements. Mike Bell there at the back is the last car running at the moment, 3 laps down, still going along. But yeah, the gap of the lead, 2.6. So Pushka's brought it back, but Lewis Retshaw looking very comfortable in these conditions. Again, as I said, that CSG, whatever they've done with the setup, it looks really, really good.
Canapino past Lopez for P4. That was a really nice move. Oh, it wasn't, sorry, actually. Lopez, he got caught on the grass on the inside there between Schlossgold and Raunch. No idea how he managed to do that, but he did. And the Argentine is now past the young Spaniard. I also have noticed that Mikel Tumal has actually got back past Alex Cooper for P15. So the Nijo driver back into the points as Lopez all over the back of Canapino here. We can look up the inside here of Castrol Edge. It's turn 1, and that is nice and simple for Lopez. He is back into P4.
Indeed, no, Canapino again, just looking like he didn't make that too hard. He did try and defend, but again, I think he realised that trying to fight is really hard in these conditions is not a very smart idea because it is very, very wet, and trying to fight very, very close battles is just going to end in tears, especially if you're struggling to keep the power down in general, let alone fight in close proximity. But notice Simoncic, he's now 2 seconds clear, so Simoncic is just loving this. He's like, yeah, you guys keep fighting, thank you. I'll just go down the road and take this third if you don't mind. So Simoncic here taking a nice bit of advantage from this, but Fran's back past now, and if he can try and get that consistency back, he does seem to be struggling a bit in these conditions, but if he can get that consistency back that he was showing earlier on, he might catch back up to Simoncic, and he might well try and get back that third spot. But we'll keep an eye on that for you. As Parker there behind, of course, Fidek's still behind him. He's just been sort of tagging along. That's still Bart DeVos, who's in 8th spot. Brewer still in 9th, but Missilis has been closing him in slowly but surely. It's about 4 seconds now. And I'm interested to note that Riffle has actually been holding on to the back of Missilis. He's showing pretty good pace in that Adonis Engineering car, and he's not leaving Missilis alone. And I would have thought Missilis would have just buggered off down the road, but Riffle is still there. So impressive stuff here from Riffle in 11th spot. This could be some really good points for Adonis, and I'm sure that Menno would be very, very happy with that.
I think the Brazilian's pace has never been in doubt. It's been his racecraft, which has led to points flying out the window, unfortunately. And it's good to see that in these most difficult of conditions, actually, he's excelling and he's not getting into trouble. So, we wish Marcus all the best as he continues his campaign there in P11. Haley Bear, P12, Florian Gaia, P13, James Johnson, P14, and Alex Cooper now back past Mikhail Tumala once again into P15. So hopefully the Englishman will be able to hold on to that a little better. If you're only just joining us here, we've had 4 retirements as of now. Both Torrance, Weeks and Columbus out, Yakinen out, and our most recent retirement, Daryl Nell, as Tom is oohing at something.
Yeah, sorry, no, I'm just looking at the replay of Nell's actual incident. It was out of the long sweeping right-hander in the middle sector there. He's fighting with Mark Wicks. He's gone to defend the inside and then just lost the rear and gone into the wall and then just gone sliding off track into the concrete barriers and just had a big impact. And I believe he lost 1 or 2 wheels there, which is why he retired. So a big crash for him. Just a mistake of his own. No contact with Wicks, but yeah, big crash for him. It's a real shame. He was going along there in the back end of the teens. And again, if accident happened, he could have been in the points. So a bit of a shame for Green Stripes. They do still have Brewer in the points, so it's not a disaster for Green Stripes. But yeah, real shame for DeWalt.
And of course, I'd like to take this moment to remind you the reason why the battle at the bottom here is so very important is we have our new relegation table, which you can find on the GPVWC website. They take the average of the last 3 seasons for your team, and if you're anywhere near the bottom of that, then things get a little bit sketchy. We will say that as a general overview. So these are very, very important points that Brewer and indeed the two Adonai are currently scoring for their respective teams. As we have a little gander back up at the front, Lewis Redshaw still leading by 1.9 seconds, heading on to lap 26 here of 71, and still not pitting, so making the inters last, but I wonder for how much longer, because surely they are going to be starting to burn a little now.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that we'll be probably getting close to pit stops, I would say. Again, I'm not really sure of the intermediate whether intermediate tyre compounds life here at Austria. I'm not really sure how many laps they can do, but I would think that you'd be looking at 30 laps, 35 surely. I can't see them doing any more than maybe 40 at absolute most. So I reckon we'll have pit stops soon, but we all keep an eye on that as this race develops, of course. Weather might change again. You never know. It might have a Silverstone. It might start drying up and then raining again. You never know with the weather here. It can all be a bit unpredictable. So I'm just looking back at the battle between Bart DeVos has actually gotten past Brewer there for 8th. So Bart getting past Brewer, I believe that was, as Brewer was ahead of him. Yeah, he was.
Well, Bart was past Brewer. I wonder whether Brewer got back past Bart and then
let me have a look here.
The vice versa happened again. Either way, these two are a lot more closer than they were.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no. Brewer's still going along, though, in 9th, which is the main thing, as we've said. He's still going along, and Bart looking, as we've said, very nice in the wet conditions, although, again, Merciless is closing. He's only a couple of seconds back now with Riffle in tow, so keep them in mind. I reckon they might start challenging these two very soon. They're looking very pacey, but, again, very, very good stuff here from Bart. It's been a very, very good race from him. Very consistent. I've been very impressed with just how consistent he is with that car. Not feeling like he's making very many mistakes, which is great for him. Really good signs in these really tricky conditions. There's Brewer, and Kieran Ryan having a bit of a get together. Was that lag? Oh, it's lag, right? But yeah,
he's been lagging a lot, and I don't like it either. As Jarl Tyen becomes our 5th retirement of the day, I would not be surprised to see Kieran going either, because that is looking very dangerous.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, gee. Yeah. That's
worse than your internet, Tom.
Yeah. Mine's very, very good compared to what he's having. That's very, very dangerous. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I hope for his sake, hopefully he notices how bad it is and maybe calls it for safety, because that could cause some real dramas. But yeah, just back to that battle. Just pointing that out. Brewer now is pretty much been caught by Merciless now in 9th spot. So Brewer again. I mean, he's looked very, again, credit to him. He hasn't raced very recently in R Factor, and this is his first ever race in Super League. So to be in the top 10 in these conditions in the green stripes is a very mighty feat. It's been a great drive so far, but his pace, it's no real hidden fact. His pace is not really that good, and I do think Merciless will make this move pretty easily. I don't think Brewer will make it too hard, although I speak too soon. Is he just a bit of contact with Merciless? I thought he was going to give the space, but he just kind of kept going there. That was a bit of an interesting one, as now Riffle is right behind them, but I wouldn't think that Brewer would fight this too hard. He hasn't fought them too hard so far, and if he's got the right hair on his shoulders, I wouldn't think he'd fight this too hard now, because Merciless and Riffle, they are faster, so if I were him, I'd just, I'd fight it, but I wouldn't make it too hard, because at the end of the day, you've got to get to the end of the race first to finish and get the points.
I tell you, it was like kids in a classroom. Daniel Brewer was the one with all the sweets. Davidas was like, "Can I have one, please?" Dan was like, "No," and Davidas still tried to take one. It was almost karma as Marcus Riffle almost took Merciless. But Davidas there with a mighty X-out of Riffle mobile and contact. That was almost a Grosjean Stevens sort of incident from Canada, and that has left Daniel outside the top 10. That was a bit rude, I feel, from Merciless, who just cuts across Brewer in the braking zone. You can't do that. Either way, he's up into 9th, and Riffle, the best stuff there, coming up into 10th.
Indeed, yeah. No, Riffle getting a nice little advantage there. And again, this is just helping Adonis as he's actually pressuring Merciless. This is good to see from Riffle, as you said. I mean, his pace never really has been in question, but he's looking very good here in these conditions, and that car looking quite comfortable. So Adonis really coming along now is Kenny there in 12th, and Ejo going along quite nicely. Guy is in 13th. JJ still in 14th. But Cooper's there right behind him as he's Charge has just kind of come to a standstill now. He was looking a lot pacier earlier, but he's just kind of struggling now to really make progress. As in, JJ goes wide there in the right hand, and that's going to gift Cooper 14th there as JJ makes a bit of a mistake. But yeah, Cooper not looking strong in these conditions, as there is a dry line. I can see a dry line coming.
It is.
So
It has stopped raining, and Tom Parker's just pitted, Tom.
Ooh, and he's gone option.
As has Choda. So people are calling it. It is still mightily wet offline, it must be pointed out. So Tom is taking a big risk here. But there is a dry line. The rain has stopped. Is this the tactic of the race? We shall wait and see.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, this is the one. He's the first to jump and blink. And although actually a lot of the guys down the back are also blinking, but these guys will become.
Oh, Canapino! Sorry, Canapino is in the wall. And he's missing a front bumper. Let's have a look here. Oh, I think his steering must have stopped or something. I think his steering must have just stopped. He just drove into the wall. It wasn't contact with Lopez at all. So a real shame there for Canapino from P6. He's no doubt going to fly down the order now, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's a real shame. Hello, Parker.
Yeah, Parker
struggling, on the dries. I just saw him basically drifting into the right-hander, but real shame for Canapino there. Real big dramas for him, and yeah, it does definitely look like that was some kind of a technical issue, so real shame for him as he was looking so strong in the top 5, but fortunately that's how it is here in sim racing, as Fran Lopez is in as well for option tyres. But interesting to note, Pushka and Redshaw staying out, so that's interesting to see. Although to be fair, they had a big gap, so they can kind of take that gamble of just making it go a bit longer, as they had such a big gap. I think it was about 20 seconds to third, so they had that buffer. But this is interesting to see, as I said, Parker, he's going to be the test bed for everyone. I'll be watching him to see how he goes on these option tyres.
Mr. Brewer in as well, as is Canapino, who has to repair the damage. Interesting to note, Tom Parker up to 9th now. And Fran Lopez has actually come out in 6th on the option tyres. So we shall wait and see as Redshaw goes round again, as does Pushka. We'll wait and see what Simičić does. Will he blink now? He goes into Rint. And Simičić goes round again as well. Very interesting. These top guys not wanting to blink. Fran Lopez seemingly taking a big risk here. Could it pay off, though? He theoretically should be having better lap times. I guess we'll check at the end of this lap.
Yeah, indeed. I think what's happening here is that they're remembering back to Silverstone, and they're remembering that when they did blink, or when a couple of people did blink, it started raining again. And then they lost out big time, like people like Fidek and Fran. So I think that maybe Redshaw and that are thinking the long game, just like Pushka did at Silverstone. Remember, people around him were pitting, and he just stayed out. He just weathered out the storm of the weather change, and he ended up being out on top. So I think what they're doing is they're just going to hang it out, wait and see if the rain comes back, and if it gets really bad, then they'll go to the dries. But until then, they're just going to hang out, see if the rain returns, and if it does, then they're in a prime position to just dominate this race. And I think that's what they're doing. That's why they haven't pitted. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. As I did notice, looking at Parker, he does seem to be struggling a bit. He is kind of catching back up to Kenny now in front of him. But I
tell you what as well, Marcus has just overtaken Fran Lopez. So Marcus Riffle on the inters, Fran Lopez on the options. I think they've called it too early.
Yeah,
the big one is lap time here, because Pushka's last lap time was a 1:12.3, and Pushka's in the lead. Redshaw is pitted on the option.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pushka's last lap time was a 1:12. Lopez's last lap time was a 1:20. Either way, Redshaw now pitting. Now, we won't really go through too many orders, as it seems that now is the pitting stage. But I do wonder whether the guys like Parker and Lopez called it just a tad too early.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Fidek's also in as well on the option tie now. But yeah, I do think they called it just a touch too early, a lap or two too early. They probably should have waited about now.
Sorry, Cooper. Cooper almost lost it on the exit the Verth curve with Bart de Vos right behind him. Bart, with some incredible evasive action, managed to keep it out the rear of Cooper as Cooper now pits. I think the option's now looking a hell of a lot faster as Pushka now pits. I believe Redshaw should be coming out comfortably in the lead of this race, actually, as Riffle, look at this now, Riffle up at turn 2, losing all sorts of time to Lopez behind, so it is now option territory for sure.
Indeed, yeah, it's looking like that's the tie to be on. But yeah, very interesting scenes now as we start to go into dry weather. I'm just interested to see how far ahead Redshaw comes out, although Pushka, he doesn't look too far behind. I actually think he's possibly gained a bit here. Will he actually beat him out? Let's have a look here. Oh, not quite. Yeah, I think Redshaw's just going to beat him, but that's very close. I reckon he's gained in that pit stop phase. He's definitely gained in that pit stop phase. So I reckon Redshaw had a bit of a hairy outlap, and I reckon Pushka's really gained on him. As look at that, Simičić and Riffle, Simičić, keeps going. Riffle through the last corner. Gets a bit
He
wide.
wants to pit and he can't.
Yeah.
He wanted to pit. You could see he was angling for it. Oh, Lopez with a Larry moment. The issue was Riffle went so wide and Lopez was attacking so hard, he couldn't actually angle for the pits. Otherwise, he would have done a Maldonado from 2012 in Belgium, and Fran Lopez held up massively from that. Both drivers in a bit of worries. I am worried for Simičić, though. He does not want to be on those inters at this time, losing time hand over fist to the likes of Lopez, Parker, and indeed Fidek behind.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I think it's the time to go over, especially with everyone else on these tyres. It's quite clear that they are the tyre to be on, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pits this lap. But again, is he waiting out? I think at this point it's a bit too late to wait it out. You're going to lose too much time. You just need to pit, but he stays out again. So, although, hello, I see rain, has Simičić just pulled an absolute masterclass? I reckon he has.
You say this is a masterclass, Tom. It's raining again. And it's raining harder and harder. Also, shout out to league admin Will Panisi. 2013 Belgium. Thank you very much, Will. But it is starting to rain again. And all of a sudden, Simičić and Riffle's decisions, whether... Well, we know that Simičić was definitely conscious. Riffle perhaps wasn't. Could they have ultimately pulled the masterstroke here?
Oh, that's what I mean. I think their call to hang out, and that's what I was saying just then, has been the masterclass. I think they have made the right call. And again, this just shows the experience of Simičić. I think they have made the absolute right call. And this is exactly like Silverstone, where the people who stayed out and waited were the ones that ended up being the big benefactors, as everyone else tried to pit and change the conditions. So I think the patience especially of Simičić, who of course is, as we said, Riffle was probably trying to pit, but Simičić, who has intentionally stayed out, I think his patience may well be the defining factor here. So this could be, oh boy, this.
And what about Riffle as well? He's there in P4.
Yeah. I reckon he's going to probably come out. He might even stay about 4th or 5th, I reckon. And maybe even 2nd, depending on how much time Redshaw and Pushka loses. They're still going around another lap. So
That's a bad call.
Ooh.
Not too sure that's a good bad call. As we have Simon Smith joining us, so I'm going to hand over to the Super League maestro himself. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the rest of the race.
Thank you very much, James. Hey, Wilma, I'm home!
Hey!
Oh dear, and I was updated via Messenger and Twitters and stuff by everyone saying crazy race. So tell me what's happened.
Smithy, it's been a cracker. Rain to start the race, as we saw there, for those who've been watching the broadcast. Nearly halfway, 48%, and it was rain to start the race. It was rain for the first about 26 laps, but then the rain stopped, started to dry out. Everyone, bar Simičić and Riffle, went onto the option tyre, and now it's raining again. And Simičić and Riffle, I think, have just pulled an absolute masterclass, as everyone's going to have to pit, and they didn't pit, so they're going to gain a bunch of time. And I reckon we might have Simičić in the lead in his first ever Super League race for Vodball. So, yeah, he's been nuts, this race. Just like Silverstone, it has been absolutely nuts. But, yeah, good to have you in the box now, Smithy. For the last half of this race, we have a 2-half. It's kind of pretty symmetrical, isn't it? Quite nice. But, yeah.
Absolutely. I tell you what is symmetrical. Fran Lopez passing Tom Parker for 5th position, and they've just been passed by Riffle. So, and Lopez goes into the pits, and that's an alternative entry. Pleased to see you, Fran. But yes, actually, if you get that turn 6 wrong, quite often you can oversteer and spin into the pit lane and pretend that was what your plan was all along, as Riffle ruins it at turn 1. So, a quick run through of the order as it is then on lap 34 of 71. Lewis Redshaw currently leads ahead of Filip Puška and Vernon Simičić in the Vodball, making his debut. So their team boss, actually, Mike Pittman, was screaming at me on Facebook this morning, going, "We finally got the team together!" So I think he's expecting lots, but they're all diving in.
Oh, and Simičić. I reckon he's diving for wets. I reckon that's what he's doing. He's predetermining it's going to absolutely pour down. I reckon he's going wet. So we'll have although he's been on the Inters since the start, I reckon he might need to get a change of Inters.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, yeah. But that's still going to be a good move because, again, he's gained about 15 seconds on Redshaw and Pushka, keeping that in mind because he was about 20 seconds or so behind before the rain stopped and he stayed out. So he has in turn gained at the end of the day. This is a net gain for him as Riffle stays out. But, yeah, Riffle's probably going to have to pit soon because he's been on those Inters for the entire race and I can't imagine they're going to be terribly healthy.
So 20 drivers are remaining. So that doesn't help those that have not retired, although it's looking like points available for most people. I see Mike Bell still running in his Hawkeye debut, still at the back there, but Pushka currently in second as Simoncic gapped ever so slightly. They've got a Choda stuck between them in the midnight. He's making his debut as well, so lots of new faces, although they're towards the rear end of the grid at the moment.
Yeah, there's Alex Cooper there just going wide at the right hand of that, gifts JJ the position again. Those two, by the way, have been switching for the last 20 laps because one will make a mistake, one gets back, then he'll make a mistake, he'll get back, and it's just been a switcheroo of them constantly making little mistakes. So it's been quite interesting to observe. As I was saying earlier in the broadcast, it's interesting to note that Cooper here is a lap down in 14th. And this is not the Alex Cooper that I remember in the races prior to this one. He's always been in sort of 4th or 5th or even 3rd. In that midnight, but he hasn't looked comfortable in his conditions. He had a bit of a bad start. I think he might have got involved in some kind of incident. He dropped way back, and he's been trying to fight through ever since. But his pace, it doesn't look that good in these conditions. And this is really quite fascinating, as he's always been up there in the championship, and there he is in 14th. So, yeah, some changing times for midnight in the Alex Cooper camp.
Oh, and a big shout out to Dave Carl-Smith tweeting in there as Guy comes out of the pits in 11th position, saying thank you for returning to the booth, Smithy. So pleasure to have you all in Austria. I know there's plenty of people in Austria shouting away and having a good old ball, so it's great that we get that coverage out there. One person who is not shouting out quite lots at the moment it's gone off there, but they're back on the track now, so all is not lost. It was Schroten. But we are hitting the half distance mark. I tell you what has been one big feature of this whole race week so far, and that's been low temperatures, and what it has done is completely changed the grip level between what we've all been practicing on against what actually comes up on race day. And in Formula Challenge specifically, that is a real big thing as Gaia and Fidek go at it for 11th and 12th. Fidek well down the field as well, actually. Might not get his customary podium at this rate. But what it does mean is that into turn one, you had the anti-cut that was lowered down, which was quite nice, but so it meant you could survive that. That's where Gaia and Fidek are going at it, hammer and tongs now. Up into turn two, it's less of an issue because you're going uphill. But it's round those two double lefts and into turn six where you can get it all wrong. And Gaia got himself so squared up on defence that it's left him absolutely gaping open for Fidek to shove it up the inside, and that is indeed what he does, and harpoons himself into 11th position. Gaia down to 12th, and Cooper's just done it all wrong on Johnson and drops back to 13th. And Mike Bell, 2 laps down, was quite fancy unlapping himself as Schroten's off in the gravel again in 16th.
Yeah, so I was just about to point out Schroten there is going wide as Kieran Ryan, it looks like, still struggling around with a bit of lag. He's been suffering from that for a while now. We've been noticing that throughout the broadcast. Looks like it may have settled a little bit, but he's just jumping around. It's a bit, although he has a big lag moment there. That's quite dangerous.
Lack of the Irish.
Yeah, very true, yeah. But interesting to note the lead now, it's 3.4 seconds between Pushka and Redshaw. Redshaw still holding on. This really has been a bit of a commanding race from him. He's just held Pushka at arm's length. What have you seen now?
Cooper just got past Johnson down at turn 6, looking beautiful. And that was done, I tell you what, with a ribeye steak right through the middle. Schroten has made it to the pits for repairs, but Johnson's quite fancying a little peekaboo down to turn 1. That's difficult, that one, because it hits you so much on the apex. Because it's so much tighter when you get to the actual turning point compared to where you are when you leave it again. And that anti-cut has proper castrated the liberties that you can take. And you used to be able to take so many of them down into that corner. I could practically write an American Constitution on it. But no, Cooper gets squirrely on the exit. And I done that and took off Batilla in my race. So I feel your pain there, Alex. But I was clever enough to take off everyone that was behind me accidentally, not lose my position. So room there should be a little more rubbish there, Alex. It could have done you a favour.
Yeah, It's and as I said, interesting note. He'll look at this. He'll get back past him again. There he goes. He gets back past him, and then probably in a few laps' time, we'll make another mistake. JJ will go back past, and it'll happen again. It's just been this literally has been going on all race. It's been quite fascinating to watch this battle, as there've just been little mistakes from each of them has let the other one get back through. As I think Cooper has better pace, but he just can't seem to have the consistency, and that's why he keeps dropping back behind JJ. So quite a little bit of an interesting battle between those two. We'll put it that way, and it's Simcraft and Adonis, which we haven't really seen fighting throughout this season. So yeah, a bit of a different fight there if we've ever seen one. As Sandeep on the option, I don't know if that's the right call, Sandeep, but we'll see how he goes. It's going to be the only one on the option, but yeah, I guess he's outside the points again. He's probably just going to take a crack and see how it goes. Oh, okay, okay. Quentin there saying the rain is decreasing, apparently, so maybe that is a good call, although I think it's a bit early. It's only just stopped raining. It does seem, just less than the rain. It does seem a bit early, as I can only just see a dry line, but I don't know, maybe Sandeep knows something we don't, which, in all honesty,
well, Riffle's off,
in this case.
And Choda's gone deep in just general cold tire temp, but thankfully went deep at the wrong pace and deep dished it down into turn 2 a different way that Riffle did. But that's the problem there for Riffle, because what he has done is rejoined way behind Lopez and Parker, so that's popped him down to 6th. And with no front wing as well, so he's clearly clocked something.
Yeah, hang on, let me have a look here. I'll go back and have a little look-see at what happens.
Clonted it somewhere at the front end.
Yeah, it looks like at the hairpin. That is a weird instance. So he's broke into it and he's locked the rears and then gone into the wall on the left, not the right. It's a very weird spin, but it looks like he was just the lock of the rear brakes, and oh boy, he had a bit of a dangerous rejoin there in front of Kieran Ryan, but managed to avoid contact. But yeah, that was a bit of an interesting one. But yeah, lost his front wing, and that's a bit of a shame for him because he was looking very strong after the pit stops there and making that right call strategy-wise. But a real shame for him. He has to limp around now, and he'll surely come out probably down in the bottom end of the 10, maybe even the low teens there. So a real shame for him, but I'd say he's still in the points.
Talking of bottom end of the 10, who is Daniel Brewer, and why is he in a green stripe in the top 10? What is this alternate world?
Yeah, he's one of the, as we've been saying throughout the broadcast, he's one of the new drivers for green stripes, filling in his first race in R Factor since last year, I think it was what James was telling me, I believe. Yeah, he had his first race in R Factor in the year yesterday in Super Cup, driving for ST, got 8th apparently. So good result for him from his return. But yeah, first time in Super League, first time racing in R Factor for a year, and here he is in what probably, I would say, one of the trickiest conditions you could have of any race. Changing conditions. There he's an 8th. He has looked. His pace is not that great, but he's looked consistent, and I'll credit to him. He's done very well, considering it is his first proper race in Super League. Credit to him. He's got Kenny now on the back of him now. Don't kill Kenny, please, Daniel. As Kenny's probably going to have a look down here. No, he's just going to stick behind. But yeah, Daniel, he's looked good. I mean, again, as I said, pace not that great, but that green stripes is coming along. Its development is pretty good now. It's only about 10 development points behind the next car. What's going on now?
Riffle's in the barriers.
Down
in 11th. And he's completely squirreled it on the old recovery. Simonchich gets well out of the way, as if to say, I don't think so. But Mr. Riffle himself, back going again. Don't think he's lost any wings by the looks of it, but more time lost, and that's now down to 11th. Fiduk up into 10, and here comes Libia around the outside of Brewer for 8th and 9th position in the final turn. What a move by the Liberables. Beautiful stuff there. Kenny showing what he's got.
Oh yeah, good move there from Kenny. As Daniel looking to maybe get back, but he's not going to have a look down to turn 1. But yeah, good move from Kenny there, as he's looking quite good. The Kieran Ryan there just coming out of pit lane in front of them. Hopefully a lag spike doesn't happen. Nope, does alright. Look at this Daniel coming back at him into the hairpin here. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, on the wet. Let's have a look here down the inside. Kenny gives him the room. Very nice, clean race. He's going to go switchback, and look at that. Very nice from Kenny. That was savage. He's just like, does the classic switcheroo. Our favourite move. Very, very good stuff from Kenny. That was good. I like that. He's just going, you can have the inside. I'll just get you back down there. Very, very good. Thank you very much, Daniel, and I'll see you later on. Yeah, very good stuff from Kenny. Well done.
Cooper off in the barriers in 13th as well. He's done the old kick, the anti-cut, and gone off into a spin down at turn 1. He's rejoined in 13th, all wings intact, so still in the points for Cooper. But I think that's one of the big features of the I'm going to be naughty and call it the A1 ring there. The energy drink that shall not be named ring. Or the I'll have that with vodka ring. It should be called, to be fair. That's the only way how I'll experience that dirty, filthy drinkage. If there's going to be any liquid going down my throat, it won't contain a ball in it. It may have come from tube, but that's the different matter for another day. However, there's only 7 corners. They all pretty much have really good braking zones to them and different gradients and thoughts and feelings behind them. But it all lends itself so well to good racing, and that's why it may. That Lopez.
Sorry, oh no! Ooh, look at Riffle, 12th. Yeah,
Ooh.
he binned it at the last corner. He's on the dry tyre, and I was looking at it going, oh, if he made a mistake already, I can see it happening again, and he just lost it through the final corner in the wet conditions and straight into the wall. Mistake of his own doing, and he's not going to. Oh, don't do that, Marcus. Or is okay, all right, that's all right. Well, that's not too bad. I was looking at that going, oh, that could be dodgy, but he managed to avoid any contact with anyone. But yeah, that was a mistake on his own. But real shame for Riffle. This has just gone down the toilet for Adonis. It's a real shame because they were looking, especially Marcus was looking very strong in the early sort of half of this race, but it's just kind of all come falling apart. So a real shame for Marcus, but I'm sure he'll bounce back in the next round. Even stronger, I'm sure. As we've said, his pace is good, just having a few issues with consistency here in these really challenging conditions.
Challenging they are, almost like some kind of GCSE maths syllabus. We are clinging on through the rounds themselves. Not quite sure what lap we are now on, but we're past the halfway distance. And it is Lewis Redshaw that leads away from Philip Pushka in second. Third for Bernard Simonchich, lap 45. Thank you very much there, sir. Fran Lopez into fourth then for Red Archer. He looked like he was about to bin it in the chicane that's not chicane. And now he's dived into the old pit lane again, driving over, taking the approved shortcut. Thank you very much, James Kirk, for popping that one in. Then that's popped Parker up into fourth for now for CSG. Lopez down to fifth. Missilis in sixth, but a long way back. Those top lot are really quite on their own. But DeVos in seventh for Kerno. Kenny Lai Beer 8 for Nijo, ahead of Daniel Brewer 9 for Green Stripes, and a Hawkeye in the top 10 in the form of David Fidek. James Johnson in 11th for Adonis, still in the points there, that could be good. Alex Cooper in 12th there for Midnight, ahead of Florian Gaia, who's got round Mikhail Tumala for 14th. Sandeep Choda into the points, then in 15th on the dry tyres, but I've yet to actually see him hit an apex, as Riffle has now retired his car. But he is still going, and Mark Wicks, though, is closing him down for the second Kerno. So could we get a double Kerno points finish? Who would have thunk it? Then Roy Schroten there in 17th as Tumala's done a complete screw up of that. As DeVos pops into the pits and drives down to 10th. Schroten then into 17th. Kieran Ryan will come up into 18th in the Smidgeroo. Mike Bell still going there in 19th in the second of the Hawkeyes, clinging on for dear life, as he predicted that he would barely cling on for when I was chatting to him on Tuesday. So I think it's a general conception that if you're starting a debut in Super League, you just generally think that you'll be off into the wall by lap 5. But once again, the new talent proving themselves that if you are getting it on like King Kong round in the Super League, you are pretty much worthy of your place. All except the odd exception. La la la.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's a good point there. As I'm just looking through, not really any battles and efforts. Oh, who's that off in the background? Is that Mike Bell? Let me have a look here. Let me just try and find. Yeah, it was Mike Bell right at turn 1. Just having a bit of an off there. I saw someone off in the distance as Kenny, Don't Kill Kenny, is in on the option tyre now. So it looks like the rain has stopped again. And looks like a few people flinching on the option tyre. But again, we saw just before, if you held on and waited it out, you ended up gaining more as the rain stopped. So which to see, I don't know. Again, we don't know whether rain will come back on. It's always a bit of a guessing game with the weather here, as always. It's the great fun, I guess, in a way, of the Super League here. But it's kind of a bit of a guessing game. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the rain comes back. It seems to be a bit on-off. It was the same at Silverstone. It was very on-off throughout the race as when it did come. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who gains here. As Fran Lopez is the highest option runner. He's in 5th spot in the Red Stripes. Wow. Mixing teams together, wow. Red Archer, terribly sorry, Red Archer.
And then actually variety.
Oh, yeah, bit of a mistake there. But yeah, Parker there is now going to the pits for the option tyre. He's going to come out probably in 5th because Missilis has come in just behind him. He's probably going to put on the option tyre as well. And there's a big gap back to Fidek, who's on the inters. But yeah, looks like it's options the way to go at the moment. But again, we saw last time what happens. We'll see what happens.
We will indeed. I tell you who is flying along like some kind of man running away from a date with moi. It is Florian Gaia up in 13th position. He has completely obliterated the gap between himself and Alex Cooper. Cooper seems to be diving off of the racing line to try and wet his tyres and cool them down, I think. But what it's doing is that it's then leaving him completely offline for some of the corners. Now, Gaia's up onto the back of him. The battle now for 12th and 13th into the final two corners. They flow so beautifully like a Picasso. Or a Picasso, depending on where you come from, round my way. But you're going to have to be brave and do the move on the dribbly stuff. And by that, I do not mean from your local clinic. I mean from the wet things down at turn 1. And he's done it. And that was a brave move on those dry tyres. Expertly done. Cooper's immediately sniffing around the rear on the old slipstream. He's going to poke his nose out, see what he can do. Little to do with it. Gaia there. I tell you what, I was doing that in the Formula Challenge race. Look at me pretending like I can drive for twaddle. But you can go really wide into that turn 2 if you know the other car's going to vaguely dive bomb it. And it's one of the corners where, oh, that's not how you go wide, Gaia. Down to 13th he goes. Done that as well. But you can go wide into that turn 2 if you know someone's coming, and you get equally just as much traction off the exit from that. And actually, in a way, you have less of a radius, so you can put the power on earlier and therefore get a bit more straight line speed in the first part of that. So you can kind of go yoinky-roo down into turn 3. Sometimes it's advantageous to just say goodbye Apex.
Indeed, yeah. As we have word of... Is it? Oh, yeah, it is actually. Kenny, Don't Kill Kenny, Bart, and Brewer are all having a big old fight there over 8 spots. All option tyres there. Thanks for James pointing that one out. Yeah, it's a big old battle there at the back end of the 10. Interesting to see Daniel looks a bit stronger, I will say, on these option tyres. He's actually managed to catch back up to Bart. He does look a bit more comfortable in these conditions. So I reckon if the track keeps drying, we might see Daniel start to come back through a little bit here. And he may well even get up a few spots. I'm pretty sure in qualifying he showed very good pace in that green stripes, as I believe it was at the back end of the 10 on pace. So keep an eye on that as JJ and Cooper still struggle around on the Inter's tyres. Kenny now just gaps Bart slightly, but Daniel looking quite keen on the back of Bart here. As I said, he's just coming back now in these conditions as the track dries up. He's obviously getting a bit more comfortable now in these conditions. And yeah, keep an eye on that in the green stripes. Again, looking very strong this entire race. It's been a very impressive performance. Bit of an eye-opener, I'm sure, for people on the grid having a look at this new face in the top 10 and doing really well in a team that, as we know, has been struggling pretty much all season long, as I believe, Pushka and Redshaw just pitted for option tyres, and now everyone in the top 10 is on the option tyres, and there's really only a few of the blokes at the back who haven't changed yet. But yeah, we should see what happens with JJ and Cooper, whether they maybe do what Sivincic did earlier and they just try and hang it out and see if they can gain dividends if it rains again. But it's not looking like it's going to rain at the moment, but I'm sure I'm going to commentator's curse it. In about 2 minutes it'll rain and pour down, knowing the commentator's curse. But we'll see. We'll see how this develops.
Indeed-a-roo. And, well, we've done a commentator's curse once or twice already. I've noticed that Jordan Weeks is not running, so I'm assuming that a commentator cursed that one into a horrific accident. Probably random sheep came across and just obliterated him. So that's not grand, as Lopez pops a lap on Chodo. Simuncic, I think, is actually struggling. Okay, every time I click to him, he seems to be not making the corner. So hopefully he can keep that one under wraps and get going. Bell in the pits down in 19th and last, so that's handy. What do you think about this circuit in general? As Gaia goes on Johnson, actually. Let's take a little look on that for 11 and 12. He's dispatched of one. Norwich own driver now having a look at the other, and Fiduk is none too far up the road either. In fact, he's in visual distance. There you can see Kupo pulling off the track in the background there to get tyres. Guy up the inside into one. It's going to be very tight. There's contact between the two. Johnson is giving him a little bit of a love nudge on the exit, but that's very difficult because you've got two separate lines going into one, and there's that crossover point, and there little bit of rubbing going on, but Guy has got it. He's gone in deep there, but I think that's too deep, and he's going to clip the apex on the way out, splallop over the curb. Unfortunately, that was more fudged than my love life, and up to 11th back goes Johnson. Down to 12th goes Guy, but he's got that pace, and whilst he's got it, he'll be right onto the rear of that again by the end of the lap.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So there you go.
In second position, down at that. I tell you what, that chicane has got such a massive boob in the middle of it, because when you turn in, I've never known anything so rumbly in my life. It's a terrible bump. I don't remember it being so harsh in previous years. But everyone is saying that corner has now become the hardest corner on this circuit, and it never was before. And Pushka, they're proving it by going off into the gravel.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So I'm just looking at Simic here trying to get past these guys. They're all battling, keep in mind, it's JJ, Gaia, and Cooper. They're all battling away as JJ, they're getting out of the way. That's going to leave him open to Gaia. All goes wide there, a bit of contact again between two. This Cooper's just watching this going, this is interesting. I might maybe benefit here if these two have a bit of a tangle. But JJ going to try and come back. Yep, goes looking down the inside of the hairpin, but not quite deep enough. And Gaia now makes the move and makes the corner this time. So should have that move pretty much done and sealed. He now moves up to 11th spot, clearing the two Inters runners as they continue to go around. But I don't know, it's looking like maybe going to dryers soon might be the option, but we will have a look as, yeah, this is all going on quite nicely. Redshaw's still leading now. It's obviously 12 seconds now, thanks to Pushka's mistake. As, oh, yeah, what's going on there with Missilis? Yeah.
He's gone off down at turn 6, unfortunately. He made himself back into the pit lane for some repairs. But Missilis, we saw him struggle in the wet in Silverstone, didn't we? And that didn't go very well. But it's all kicking off behind with the Cooper Gaia Johnson battle. They were 3 abreast coming into turn 6. Johnson's at the head of that pack.
Ooh.
He's going to...
Sorry, no, it's just Cooper there. Just Cooper and Gaia. I reckon Gaia just gave him a little whack up the right rear. Sorry, that's just my reaction there. It was a bit of a...
Right
looked
up
like a bit of a... Jackson, yeah. So look at this guy coming back through on JJ too. This battle is just intense, and they're a lap down. Keep in mind, but you know, they never stopped anyone before. It won't stop them now.
No, never stops me. 6 laps down, still giving it a go as Cooper is 2 up the inside, and that was going. Oh, he's going to get an absolute sandwich of a Adonis in one side. You don't want an Adonis up your ear, I suppose, and an Orzone on your nose cone, and. That would be some midnight motorsport if you was in a sandwich of those 3. But still clinging on for 9, 10, 11. What that has done is allowed Fiduk to gap them slightly because they were actually all 3 of them catching David Fiduk up. That's now letting him scamper off up the grid for his 9th position. But Bart DeVos has retaken Daniel Brewer. He did actually get ahead Brewer, but DeVos is now clear and has gapped Brewer. So that little battle has petered out ever so slightly. However, it's all about, I think, who is wanting to... Yeah, JJ's into the pits. It's going to be very much down to set up control of this as well. One of the things that we were finding in practice for this track was that you could have a variety of different setups, but actually none of them really affected the time that much. So you could really go for low downforce for the overtakes, or you could go for the high downforce for the curves. And time-wise, it didn't matter too much on the overall time. But obviously for how you're positioning yourself for the race will be different. And I'm wondering if those that are lower downforce will be relishing these conditions, and then when the rain comes along it starts to tilt the balance.
Yeah, indeed, and actually I'm just looking here at the battle for 3rd. It has livened up again. Fran's back again on Simicic, yeah, on the back of him again, and they were fighting earlier in the race when it was raining. It was quite an interesting fight that they were having as the rain was coming down, but they were a bit spread apart with the changing conditions. They were a bit lost the gap, and I think Fran dropped off the back of Simicic, but he's caught back up again. And yeah, Fran looking very pacey again. You know, he's Fran Lopez. We know how much pace he's got, but this is going to be interesting to see how he goes here against Simcic, who, as I was discussing with James earlier, I've did a league over at Race Department, Historic Porsche Cup, earlier in the year, and Simcic was racing in that, and he was very fast. I know he's a very quick and quite experienced sim racer, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes as Fran's just hanging on the back. It does look like he's managed to just keeping him at arm's length at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on that for you as... Parker, by the way, is still in 5th, having a good race at the moment. He's the last one on the lead lap. Only the top 5 on the lead lap. That's how, just how hectic this race has been with the changing in conditions. Ooh.
Ryan.
Fiduk. Oh, he's gone to the wall. Sorry, I just happened to switch to him. I saw him go off. Lost his front wing. That was into the left-hander before the chicane. He just went wide on his own accord. Has gone to the wall. He's now lost a front wing. So, shame, Mr. Consistency. not so consistent right now.
Consistently into the wall for the second race in a row. So this is not the consistency you want, David. Stop it now. Stop it now. Smacky botty. But down into the pits he comes then for a new front wing. And what that does do is liven up the guy. Well, it's all broken up now, but Gaia now moves up into 9th position as he starts to work on what he can pull off further up the field. And the issues with that will be Fidek, I think, will get going again in 11th or 12th position. I think will beat James Johnson out of the pits just about with Cooper behind. That has big championship connotations because look at who's wallowing in the front 2 places. It's Redshaw and Pushka, and they aren't feeling the heat quite nearly as badly as Fidek is at the moment. And what has happened to Hawkeye in these wet dry races, because it's not something that they had a weakness in before, yet suddenly this is the second race in a row where they've been caught slightly on the back foot, and it only takes a couple and the momentum starts to swing and you start mentally thinking, oh my god, Nash, as opposed to whatever's mingers. And it plays with your mind and then how you go into a race, as Lopez continues to play the I want the podium race in his battle with Simčić for 3rd.
Yeah, indeed. No, I agree. Parker's going a bit wide there through left-hander. But yeah, it's interesting to notice Kieran Ryan, by the way, has retired there. Looks like suspension damage, it's telling me. So it wasn't a disconnect. It was presumably a crash of some kind. So a shame for him. Phoenix, double retirement again. They really are in the woes in these recent races. Obviously with Silverstone, that massive crash on the opening lap. And now here at the A1 ring. I'm going to be naughty too. It's always the A1 ring to me, not that energy drink ring. It's always the A1 ring to me, so I'm going to call it that too and be a bit naughty as well. But yeah, that's bad stuff for Phoenix, but hopefully they'll bounce back stronger later in the season. But yeah, I'm really impressed. I'll be honest. I'm impressed with Kenny, Bart, and Brewer in the points for Nijo, Kernov, and Green Stripes, for teams which have struggled for points pretty much the entire season up to this point, and there they are in the top 10 currently. So yeah, really strong races for them. And again, this is a bit of a message to the rest of the teams. The development, as I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, is quite close.
Lopez on Simčić. He's got an absolute stonker out of the final corner. Got the legs on Simčić up into turn 1. It's going to be last of the late breakers. They've got Schroten up ahead, but Simčić closes the door and says, I don't think so, Mr. Franny Panny. Up in then to uses Roy Schroten as a little bit of slipstreaming action to get a wee sniff of a draft. That keeps Lopez out of his reach into turn 2, but it's just a question of trying to break the toe, which is so difficult to do around the Red Bull Ring because every single corner Nyon, at least through sectors 1 and half of 2, are overtaking opportunities. Like down into here, it's last of the late breakers, but don't go deep because as we saw earlier on with Gaia, you'll run deep and then you lose out momentum. I've seen overtakes done into here because everyone has different lines around that corner. My line generally involved a gravel trap at the end of it, which was why I didn't score on Tuesday, unfortunate. But again, up over the hill into here, different people have different braking zones, and it's the beauty of this circuit. It's so simple, but it means that you can really wax lyrical on how you want to drive the circuit. Over the line we go then, both taking a little bit of wet loving on their tyres to cool them down before braking for turn 1 again, and Lopez right in the firing seat for round 24.
Indeed, and just a little poke there from our league admin man, Will Panisi, of course, team owner of Nordrone Racing, just telling me that apparently Florian Gaia catching Daniel Brewer at 2 seconds a lap, apparently. So a bit of interesting info there, so thank you for poking me that there, Will. As, yep, look at that, Fran through on Simčić for 3rd, so makes the move into the hairpin. And yeah, there you go. Fran makes it finally. He has been looking like it's going to be sort of done in the near future. He was looking very strong there behind Simčić, so he finally makes the move stick. Question is, can he keep it and can he keep consistent and pull away? I think he can, as he's proven before at Silverstone and many other races throughout his career so far. But yeah, that's interesting to see. But yeah, there he's on the podium again. Fran looking very strong here in what has been a dramatic race, to say the very, very least. But yeah, no, as I just said there, a bit of a mention from Will. Apparently, there you go. Will just poked me back. Apparently, Brewer's just picked up the pace again. So we're applying there, Brewer. As what's going on there?
That was Bart DeVos.
Yeah. Let me have a look here on the replay. What happens here? I just went a bit wide. Okay, it's just simple went wide, and Brewer just goes past. So Brewer picks up 8th again. Oh, sorry, 7th again, and Bart to 8th. Sorry.
Mitsulis was off too whilst all that was going on.
Ooh.
And we also lost Kieran Ryan in disconnection, all of that. Mark Wicks into the pits from what was 16th place. He's now rejoining in 17th. That looked scheduled to me because it was very quick, swift and easy. But yes, the thing with Fran Lopez is, will he or won't he crash? And of late, it has turned into a don't think I will this time, governor. Oh no, is he just lagged out across from me and he's rejoined behind Simoncic, and that was lagalicious, unfortunately. Nothing to do with Fran himself. And I wonder if that was a computer game freeze or something, because that's what's normally happens where someone kind of repeats the same bit again and they're like, what? So it has become a literal let's do the time warp again. Grab your transsexuals at the ready for your dance down at the disco. But Lopez has now got to do it all over again, and he quite fancies doing it down at turn 1. He's wasted no time. This is great stuff by Fran Lopez. Down into turn 1, what can they do? Very little. Simoncic there taking his normal racing line and gets a cracking exit, actually, to be fair. And that may well stomach himself into the lead into turn 2. And Lopez won't be able to do anything to stuff his nose cone into the rib cage of Simoncic, although that was a squared exit, and that will leave him open for turn 3 as we're going through. It's an awkward one because where you're doing a little bit of high, low and twisty, you're never quite sure on exactly where people brake, and sometimes you can go wide and get a fantastic exit, but you just leave the door open there for people to shove it up the inside, proper dive bomb. But Lopez not able to do it there.
Yeah, no, chuck it up the inside. That is my my famous motto that everyone knows me for. That I like to give encouragement to the drivers. Yeah. No, not serious banter. It's just banter, of course. It's just banter, as one person once said. That's literally what that term is. But it's my famous phrase. It is, yes. It's quite banterful, but I'm known for my banter nature, and that will always be the case. As Simoncic has gotten back past here, I believe, on Fran. And yeah, look at this battle for third. Was Fran getting very close through turn 1. He'll try and get the exit, but again, look at that. Simoncic, a very, 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 very good exit there again from Simoncic. Yeah, it really is great banter, James. It really is. But yeah, Fran looking very, very keen here on Simoncic. But this is a good defense from Simoncic so far as we go along. Apparently, Mitsulis is off again. Yep, he's dropped down to 12th. A good spot there from James. Cooper, by the way, up to 11th. So that 5-pack's continuing, and he's catching Fidek. So it looks like Cooper, in the dry, looking a lot more comfortable. And in qualifying, I believe he qualified 5th or 6th, and that was a dry qualifying. So I'm not too surprised that he's becoming stronger here in these conditions. I'm sure that Cooper, when the heavens stopped just downpouring on them, I'm sure he breathed a sigh of relief and went, thank you for the dry weather, because I know I'm strong here, and he is catching Fidek quite fast, actually. And that could be a top 10 for him, which, considering his race, it has been quite hectic. A lot of offs, a lot of little mistakes. I think he'll be happy with the top 10. After this race, if I'm honest. But yeah, as we go along, and that battle for third still going on. Simoncic holding on for the time being, but yeah, Fran, knowing Fran, of course, we know Fran Lopez, and we know he doesn't give up without a fight, and I'm sure he won't give up without a fight here, as this is for a podium, and that exit there looks quite nice.
Does indeed, as they come steaming down towards the old turn 2 again. Thankfully, no one's done a taku down and smashed into anyone that way. Very easily done. Lopez being more daring on the curbing as they go over the brows of the hills. They're not alive with the sound of music. They're alive with the sound of proper car engines. None of this turbo schnauzer. Can't be bothered with any of that schnitzeling going on. But around this beautiful circuit, Lopez there just trying to see exactly at what point is the best one to floor it, and you can get really good exits at if you manage to avoid the ripple bumps into that chicane and you get that spot on, there's plenty of enough time to get an overlap with the car ahead. As Lopez 4-wheel drifts out on the exit, but that's worked for him. He's going to have to go up the outside of it. Simoncic has got the inside. This looks like it could be drama. Lopez on the outside. Round he goes, and I could see that one coming faster than a train wasn't arriving for me to arrive for this broadcast on time. And Lopez gets back going again. Parker's far enough back for him to not have to worry as Gaio temporarily unlaps himself. Although I think Guy is going at such a pace that he probably will not want to let Lopez back through again, although he's doing it straight away. Gentlemanly Florian. He definitely does have the flow. But what that has done is break up that battle for a good while, I think. As who's that off? It's Brewer. Brewer's off in 8th position in the gravel. DeVos goes through. He'd actually made it into 7th. But he's just rejoined. They're behind Simoncic, struggling to get the nose in. I wonder if he's hit something then, because it's looking like he's shaking the car as if to say, "Where's my suspension? Can I have yours, please?" But is he pulling into the pits? Nope, he's keeping on going. So he's obviously deciding that he wants to brew up a top 10. As that's a Kerno going slowly down a straight. I don't know if that's Wicks recovering or just being extremely gentlemanlike as he normally is. What that has done. Oh, is Roy Schroten's off the track. Oh, and he's spun back onto it in front of Parker. Parker just narrowly misses it. And Schroten, well, that's an interesting spin, because I've yet to see anyone mow any of that type of grass. But if you're going to leave someone to explore the unknown, leave it to a Schroten, because between the pair of them, they probably will have discovered most of the Antarctica with a penguin by Christmas. But Schroten, they're into 16th, and that's allowed Choda into the points and all of that in his debut, so that's great.
Indeed, yeah. Note as well, I'm finding this interesting with Rory. He's the only one still on Inters at the moment. He's still on Inters, trying to struggle around. Yeah, I think he's possibly gambling on rain, but I think at this point it's a bit late. I would have thought you'd pit at least sort of 3 or 4 laps ago, but he's hanging out. Maybe he's hoping for rain at this point. He's probably not going to gain any positions from it. But again, he's in 16th. He's not going to get points anyway. He may as well take the gamble, I guess, is his thinking, which is fair enough. Yeah. So, yeah, Rory's just hanging out in the Inters. He's the only one on the Inters. Everyone else is on the option tyre who's still running. So, interesting note. But, yeah, that, with that Fran move, I will say it did remind me of a certain street circuit race at Monaco with a battle with a certain Simcraft car. It kind of reminded me of that, I'll be honest. It was very similar kind of ways with that one, but yeah, that was a bit similar of that battle, which of course we all know how that one ended. But yeah, yep. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just the conditions are tough, and we still have I think it's about 5 laps to go now, 4 or 5 laps to go. So there's still time to make the pass, and now he's not gonna make the pass unless Simoncic makes a mistake, which I don't think he will. But probably just commentators cursed him, but I don't think he will. Put the drums out. I don't think he'll catch him back again, and there goes a podium. So I think he just needs to have a bit of patience. I think Fran, on occasion, as we saw at Silverstone, he had a couple of moments where he had really good, clean, hard battles with other drivers. But on occasion, it just seems that impatience comes through again. That desire. He's just like, I really want to get through. I want to get through now, and that kind of comes through. I think if he can just control that and have a bit more patience, then he'll really really excel as a driver in those kind of situations, as with Simoncic just before.
It reminds me very much of a young Jean Alesi, where you can see every 10th of a second pouring out of him onto the racetrack by how hard he's trying. But you're on that. If I just dialed it back to 99%, I'd probably score a lot more points. But you can't help but love someone that's on 100% at all times as they go round. And what just going around actually, Lewis Redshaw just starting another lap. He's just lapped David Fidek and Alex Cooper, which must have put a wry smile on Lewis Redshaw's face and probably a little bit of emo on David Fidek when they're looking at the championship overall. But what they did do is disrupt Alex Cooper, who was catching Fidek for that 10th position. And Fidek's gone off, ran completely wide at turn 2, locked to wheel, and went straight on, choosing to just let that ride out as opposed to going for a spin, because he's got Missilis right behind. Lost the 1 position there to Cooper. So Cooper into 10, Fidek down to 11. Brewer and Gaia are now quite far actually up the road from them. Brewer was not too far ahead at one point, but those two have lost a lot of time over the last few laps. And what that has meant is that, as Gaia's gone off that's a beautiful 360 from Gaia. If we can get a replay of that in slow motion, maybe with the Chariots Racing song, that would be beautiful. But yeah, Fidek lapped. What is going on? Cooper lapped as well.
Yeah, not just 1 lap, they're 2 laps down, which is even more interesting. Yeah, I think it's just been one of those races. It's just been so challenging with the conditions constantly changing. They haven't been, right now, for the last part of the race where the rain stopped is the only time where it's actually been a consistent weather pattern. Until then, it's just been all over the place on weather. And I think that's why, just things, they haven't been as pacey in the wet. As I said, Fidek, he didn't look strong in the wet, I'll be honest. He didn't look that comfortable with the car. And I think that showed through with where he is right now. And the same with Cooper, of course. Yeah, that instant on the first lap, that didn't help, but he still didn't look that strong in the wet. And I think that showed through here. So again, that just shows how you've really got to prepare for the wet weather if it is a possibility, which it has come up here as we are nearly about to come over to the final lap. Redshaw, next time round, it is his final lap of the race. And I tell you what, it has been yet another just dominating performance from Brittany himself in the CSG. And 17 seconds now clear of Pushka. This is another statement, I think, in the championship. And again,
Missilus, is he going to hit the barriers in 12th? No, he's managed to avoid it, but he smacked the anti-cut on turn 6 and then basically span all the way through turn 7. He's kept it going in 12th position. But and Viaduct's off down at turn 1. He's now in the barriers too. So clearly no one wants to make it across the line. All gone a bit emo. But Missilus there, having a slightly more of a disastrous corner, has actually retaken the 11th position off of Viaduct. So if they keep that up, James Johnson will have the bear of them. But what that has allowed is for Lewis Redshaw, as you were saying there, he's had an absolutely stonking drive. And from what was looking, he had a great start to the year in Australia, and then it went for a bit of a dark patch, but he's certainly brought it back, hasn't he?
Indeed, yeah, he's really looking like that dominant form that we saw last year on occasion with Redshaw, with his battle with Viaduct throughout the championship. He's showing that dominant form again in the CSG, and I tell you what, I think this really is a key message to the field. As Parker as well into this spot for CSG, look out for them for the rest of the season, I think, because they're going to be a big challenger.
Look out for Lewis Redshaw as he crosses the line here at the Red Bull Ring in Austria to win the Austrian Grand Prix. Lewis Redshaw, pole position in the podium positions. Taking the win there for CSG. Beautifully done. And it looks like it's going to be a Red Bull 2 and 3 for the first time in a while. They're having a complete driver lineup. Philip Pushka makes a triumphant return to the podium with Vodbull Racing in second, and Jonas Simonchik is going to round the corners for a podium on his first race here for Vodbull, his first race for GPVWC Super League itself. And well, what a way to do it in style. Crosses the line up against the wall, saying howdy to his pit crew and team boss.
By Lopez, look at that. He's gone off at the last corner. And is that going to let Parker get him? No, he's not close enough. Okay, he'll keep it, but that's a bit of a interesting off. He just has a bit of a spin on his own to finish the race. Just look at that.
No,
wow,
don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah,
No, he's done it across the... Lopez.
Wow, yeah.
That is tit of the race award going out right there. Because all that needed to be was a few little grid slots further on. Because I was just thinking, don't do that. Don't do that. But anyway, Lopez does grab Paul. Cooper, has he actually made it across the line? Because he's doing it. Yes, he has. Right.
Yes.
So Lopez fourth. Parker, fifth position for CSG, Tom Parker. Kenny Libis, sixth for Nijo. That's a great effort by Kenny. Well done to you and to Nijo. Best result of the year so far. Bart DeVos then in seventh position for Kerno. Kerno's best result of the year. Daniel Brewer, eighth for Green Stripes. Their best result of the year. I tell you what, chuck a little bit of wettage on the circuit and you've got plenty of people slipping up. Lewis Redshaw saying in the chat there, I did it for Pepe. Oh, I'm sure Giuseppe will be proud of you, sir. Florian Gaia, 9 for Nordzone. 10th, Alex Cooper then for Midnight Motorsport. 11, Davidus Missilis for Red Archer VRT. 12, David Fidek for Hawkeye. That will not help his championship aspirations for defending said crown. And no, we're not talking about the Queen. 13th for James Johnson, Adonis Engineering. Back in the points there for Johnson for his second time this year. I believe Mikau Tumala gets a double Nijo points there with 14th. And Sandeep Choda grabs the final point and gets his first point in Super League for 2015 at least, in 15th place. And then the three that finished that did not score, unfortunately, Roy Schroten, who was mowing quite a lot of grass there towards the end. Mark Wicks, who I think for his generosity of letting other people through may have done himself potentially out of a podium. Could have been a podium, a point scoring position. Mike Bell then grabs home on his Super League debut for Hawkeye Racing in 2015. And I think he'll be actually quite delighted with himself for that, because that meant that he has a 100% finishing record, which I don't think he can say for anything else ever.
Yeah,
so how was that for you as we just wait for people to pop into the booth?
Yeah, it was something else. That was, I think, I can't pick which race was better, Silverstone or Well, this one, I guess Silverstone probably had a bit more of a hectic finish, I think, as with the rain coming down. But yeah, this was just as good. It was it was hectic, to say the least. A lot of incidents going on with the rain, and as we saw, Kernov with Bart DeVos, a really fantastic race to him. I thought he was very impressive. Looked really great in the wet. He looked great in the dry. He looked great pretty much all the time. I didn't see him slipping up too much. So really good stuff from Bart. As we say, Kenny there, great stuff for Nijo. Really good drive from him. Daniel Brewer, debut for Green Stripes, debut in Super League, and gets an 8th spot. Really good drive from him in a really tough race. And yeah, and of course, JJ13. We have to shout out to JJ Fan Club.
JJ Fan Club. Yeah.
Of course, JJ Fan Club. Yep. So good to see him back and getting the points, and that's great for Adonis. Again, they will be happy with those points to continue developing that car and their battle down the back end of the constructors. But yeah, it was just a fantastic race again, just like last round. The Super League season really hasn't disappointed, I don't think, in the races so far. They've all been fantastic. And yeah, Redshaw once again dominating. So I think the battle for the championship between him and Pushka is going to be very interesting indeed, and we'll see if Fidek can fight back in the championship after this kind of a bit of a low-end result from him in what's been a bit of a chaotic race for him.
As indeed, twice on the trot there for him. We'll have him in a second. Quick shout out for the back end of the field. Kerno are no longer last in the team's championships, as Mark Wicks was just delightfully shouting in the chat room. So that's been a long time for Kerno coming. However, as we just move some of the people in, I'd just like to... That's a call! But I'd just like to shout out to all of our favourite Schnitzel Austrian friends, because we have a troop of our regular people that are on the grid and team managers moseying on down to the actual Austrian Grand Prix itself. Now, I'm sorry to say that because you are going for the Formula One, you've already seen all the best action tonight. So,
I'll get the best of both. Woohoo! I'm going tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Parker, that just suits you, sir. Suits you. That's just a Parker-y thing to do. But what you must do is convey my love to each and every one of that group in some kind of Haribo form.
Well, I'll try.
And if I can have pictures of various males sucking on a Haribo ring, that will make me even happier. So on with the interviews. Let's start off with the winner itself. Monsieur Brittany, who is continuing to stamp your trotty high hill authority all over this middle section of the championship, and talk to us about that wet, dry, medium race, and how it was to lap one of your rivals in that, David Fidek.
Yeah, it was been an interesting race. It's not easy when it's like that because you have no idea what it's going to do. So you could pit for dries and then all of a sudden it could rain again like it did. And you just don't know what to do. Just managed to, I didn't feel that comfortable on the first set, on the first stint, and I thought Pushka was going to get me at any point, and I thought maybe he was just saving his tyres to do a one-stop. But then when we pitted for options, he just seemed to start falling back, and from that point onwards, I just sort of kept in a rhythm, kept really consistent, and it was fine. And yeah, it's always nice lapping Fidek. It didn't happen much last year, but it's happened this year now, so it's quite nice. I'm sure it's not nice for him.
Meh.
Indeed.
Fight! Oh.
It reminds me of Archer there. A little bit of a quote from there. They always go, eh. But anyway, sorry, that's just something I've been watching lately.
It's an
so
Australian
Archer.
thing.
Well, not really, but maybe
Okay.
sort of.
Give a Castle
Maybe it
Mains
is, maybe it
Forex about it.
is. Yeah. But what I will ask is about that race, as we just said, with the weather. That was chaotic, to say the least. Hectic's probably more accurate. But, I mean, how was it for you to adjust to the conditions? Because obviously it was inters first, and it was getting close to wets, and then dries, and then inters again. And how was it for you trying to sort of adjust to the changing weather?
Yeah, so I didn't actually do any laps of testing in the wet until warm-up. And the car didn't feel that great. Because of the setup we run, it's not very good in the slow speed at turning. The rear can't keep up. So I was a bit worried about that. Then we saw it was 30%, I think, when we went to the grid, and we were waiting as long as we could to see if it was going to go down, but it stayed there, and it was just going down really slowly, obviously, so we knew it was good to stay on the inters. And we sort of know where the boundaries are in terms of like when you can go to dry, so it's around 17% from when you can really go onto the options, and so I think we did that, and then obviously it rained again. And then you can sort of stay on them to around 25 if you have to, but they get slower around 20% online, so it's like that bit's easy. It's easy to decide what tyres you should be on. It's just difficult trying to predict what it's going to do next, because obviously you can pit and then one later you've got to pit again. So yeah, it was a difficult job, but I think Parker did a great job as well today. I mean, even with his problems, he was still matching my pace through quite a lot of that race, especially on sort of the second inter-stint and then the final stint as well. So obviously the car was good. We had a big upgrade for here. We're off sync seemingly with the other teams, so that's why we sort of dip in and out of performance. But it all worked well. The setup worked really well as well. So it's just not easy, but it was simple at least. A lot more simple than it could have been.
Indeed.
And I suppose as a quick random bonus question, what do you stick this mid-season perk down to? Because you burst onto the scene in Australia with win straight out of the bag, and everyone was like, "Ooh, it's going to be a Britney snowstorm." But actually, it then went into the dark ages for a little bit, and it's only been recently that you've kind of popped back into winning form. Admittedly, you're winning on a regular basis. What do you, if you could single out, say, one or two things, what would you specifically put that down to?
I think the first one is track. If you remember last year, I won Canada, Monaco, and Austria as well. Obviously, the final one was for a penalty, but I had the pace there, so they just suit me well. The car hasn't changed, like the mod hasn't changed much from last year, so we're just using sort of 2014 setups with a couple of tweaks for the tyre pressures. And those setups obviously won the race, so they were pretty good already. Thank David Fidek for that one. And I think the final one, it's just I run a very special type of sort of wing split, which I ran for Austria, and then I sort of lost a bit of time to practice, and so I had to sort of use another setup I got. And I think I was running too little wing split, and for my liking, and I think now I've developed that. But I imagine in the next couple of tracks it's going to be like it was last year, and I'm just going to struggle a bit more. So, but it's good to win these ones. I like the shorter tracks. There's less time for me to screw up, which seemingly makes me win. I'm sure that's what it is, probably.
Well, I will go with that logic. Thank you very much, Chris. Go and enjoy your victory. And I think what we'll do is we'll buck the trend, because the two Vodball drivers are probably already downing their sponsor in rewards. Let's dive over to David Fidek, who came home in an eventful 12th place by the end of that, I think it was. And how was that for you? Because that's the second race where Mr. Consistency of Podium has turned into Mr. Consistency of Barrier.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry.
No, it's horrible. Me and Niels were saying before you dragged us in, like the dry line on the track is different to what it actually is where you want to put the car, if that makes sense. So, you're staying on the dry line, which the computer says is dry, and like it's not, it's wet, and it's I don't know, man. It's like I'm just finding it really hard in the wet. I got the tyre selection right. I followed everyone else in basically, but tyre selection was okay. It's just it was the same corner each time. I ran a bit wide. The rear right dipped into the wet part and spun me around. So yeah, not having much luck when it comes to rain. So hopefully the rest of the season is boiling hot sunshine. Or I'm in trouble, but yeah, it was fun fighting down the field with some people. I had a nice battle with Tom and then Florian for a few corners and trying to defend from Alex until I locked up. But yeah, it's good fun. Just got to apologise to Rick and the team, for letting them down the last couple of races. I have to try and pick it up again.
I'm sure you'll come back fighting as strong as ever. I have confidence in you there, David. But I'm looking forward to the next round, of course, is the Hungaroring, the Hungary Grand Prix, or Magyar Nagy, I believe it is, as I'm remembering a certain Formula One channel. But yeah, what is your sort of, to fight back for you for Hawkeye? Are you looking to get back in the top 3 again for Hawkeye and really sort of get back into championship hunt in the next round?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've got to, get this one out of my mind. Tomorrow's a new day. Start pushing as much as I always do. To get back up the front and get some strong points for the team, because we want to be fighting with the top guys in the championship. So just one final thing. Well done to Lewis and the other podium guys. You were glued to the track today. So well done, everyone.
Indeed.
Well, I'm sure you'll be bouncing back like a space hopper on speed. So we should look forward to seeing that in the Hungaroring. Talking about someone bouncing around on speed, Tom Parker, how was that for you? Because for someone who's had awful luck, it's starting to turn around with a nice little top 5 today for you.
Yeah, I mean, after the incredible achievement of managing to jump the start, yeah,
I can't laugh,
Yeah.
I've done it myself, but
Yeah.
Parker,
jump the
no.
start. It went green as literally as I was going about a mile an hour, so I was really unlucky, but went down to whatever 22nd. But like Lewis said, it wasn't that. It was I was fast enough. I was the Inters. I think me and Lewis were the fastest people on them, and then when we went back onto the options, the first time was okay. Second time we went to the Inters again, perfect. I was really quick again, and then when we went back onto the options again, I just had no pace. I'm like David was alluding to earlier. That it's a dry line. It just says you go off track. I mean, I saw at one point Flo, bless him, he was actually going offline in turn 2 to get the dry line, and you shouldn't be doing that. It's ridiculous. But still, I'm after a few spins, a few silly moments like my jump start, I'll have fifth. I'll have it. Could have got a podium, but I'll have it.
Indeed, and yeah, for you for that for all that race again, I guess I'll ask you a similar question to Lewis, but with that race fighting through the field, obviously we watched you come back through to fifth spot. We were watching throughout the race when you come back. Was it, yeah, how challenging was it for you to come back through the field with the weather being so hectic throughout the race, to say the very least?
Insane. I loved it. We were just saying it was insane, but it was fun. Like you say, come back through the field. I need to stop doing this. As much as I love coming back through the field, I need to stop ballsing up in the first place. But yeah, I seem to be really good on the brakes compared to everyone else. I remember at one point, I think it was with David actually, I was about 3 or 4 car lengths back and he braked early. I braked and I thought, holy crap, what the hell's going on? Went up the inside. Thanks to David for giving me the room. Anyone else probably would have turned in on me. But it's just my brakes seem to be really good, except for turn 2, because, reasons. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying, and like I say, the last couple of rounds have been really good for me. Onwards and upwards, we've got a championship to fight for. I think Volvo might have taken a couple of points out of us, but before the race, we thought we were going to get slaughtered, and the fact Lewis had beaten them and myself really close. We're optimistic. Just saying that.
Fair enough.
Good stuff. Like to see. Thank you very much, Parker. Enjoy your time in the hills of Austria and have a ginormous Austrian sausage for me.
Just for you, baby.
Wow. On to Mr. Florian Geyer himself, who sent me a very pathetic tweet about my working situation earlier on today, which made me lament society. However, you should not be lamenting, because at times in that race you were on fire. So tell us about the race for you, because you seem to be bouncing up and down the field like a yo-yo.
Hello. Yeah, it was pretty eventful. Yeah, the start was okay. I think I went down to P12 or so. Yeah, I was pretty slow in the wet. I just couldn't follow the others. They were just like glued to the track, and I was, yeah, like on dry tires, no pace, no grip, nothing. I actually had a moment with Alex on lap 1, but I couldn't avoid it. The rear just snapped away from me, so I touched him and he went off. Yeah, as you said, as soon as the track dried, I knew I had a quick car and I was actually quite quick, so was able to put some fast laps in. But yeah, the race was already over on that point. Yeah, pretty frustrating, to be honest. Our car was pretty good for this track. We get basically nothing, so yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah, no, understandable. It was one of those hectic races. You couldn't really predict what to do. So, I think just finishing and getting, some solid points for Norjom was achievement in itself, really, because it was such an unpredictable race. But I'm looking forward again, the same sort of thing as David. Looking forward to Hungaroring for you guys next. Obviously, the car coming along quite nicely for Norjom development section. So you're looking to bounce back, maybe get in the top 5, maybe for the next round, or what's your objectives for the round to come?
Yeah, our objective got to be on the podium with both cars. We want to win the title, so it's quite ambitious, but I think we can do it if we get everything right. Yeah, the Hungaroring is a good track for me. We see how that goes. I don't think it's gonna rain there, so that's one good thing for us. Yeah, just close the books on this one and start pushing for the next one and hope we can bounce back.
Sounds good to me.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much, Florian, for that. As always, we appreciate everyone popping onto the grid itself, or into the booth itself, sorry. Before we dive off, quick round of applause to everyone for getting in. Thank you very much to James Kirk for stepping in at the very beginning. Any words to say before we sign off, if you're there, mate?
Thank you for not roasting me, everyone. Very happy to be my Super League debut, and what a race that was. I don't think I could have come in at a more frantic time, to be honest.
Any roasting going on around here? It'll be me with a spit. So that's all that we'll say on that. Quentin, any driver of the day or moments of the race for you, mate?
For me, it's got to be all the drivers. They dealt with all the rain pretty well. So all of the drivers in my driver of the day.
Ah, tell you what, that is a Quentin cuddle for everyone, that is. And Mr. Hinz himself, before we sign off for the evening, what was that for you? Round it up for us, mate.
Yeah, well, it was, as I said, it was a very, very hectic race. A lot of things going on. Obviously, the first sort of 10 laps or so were just complete battles everywhere and people struggling on the conditions. And it was a real toss-up that I think we all weren't expecting. So a real different race, which was good to see, though. It really brought up some people who weren't, not used to being up there, as we saw. Obviously, Brewer there and used to be getting in the top 10. Fantastic drive from him. Really big kudos for him there in that Green Stripes car. Same to Bart DeVos. He looked very strong, and I think that's just a great drive from him. Really, really consistent. Really stayed out of trouble. Just fantastic drive. And of course, Kenny as well. Don't kill Kenny. Great drive for him for Nijo, and that's good points for him. I'm sure our admin man, Chris Williamson, will be very, very happy with that. Double points for Nijo. But yeah, Redshaw again, dominating again. More messages to Pushka that he's really going to have to fight for this championship, and I'm going to be interested to see how far it goes. To bounce back in Hungaroring, because two sort of bogey rounds. He's dropped back a little bit in the championship, but he's still there. If he can really fight back at the next round and really come back to the sort of consistency we know he has and know he is famous for, I think he'll be a real contender again in the championship. So I hope to see him back up there again in the next round. But yeah, bring on Hungary, I say. That's for sure.
Hungary is exactly what I feel, having survived that. So yes, will Fidek be fighting fit after 2 rounds of funny, frantic duddery? I'd run out of F's to try and squeeze in that was actually broadcastable. So we'll be back at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix on the 2nd of July is exactly when the Super League one is, on the Thursday. But as always, we have the Formula Challenge on the Tuesday and the Super Cup on the Wednesday itself. So don't forget to get yourselves involved in the career ladder itself. Please do send us your tweets in at hashtag GPVWC or at GPVWC. We do love to see those. We also would love to see you, if you're interested, joining up for the racing itself. We have Open Series, we have the Atlantic Series, International Touring Car still going a storm on the Monday. If you fancy a bit of a lollathon, come and join myself then. And until then, the main question will be, why does everyone commit suicide at Harlow Mill train station? Answers on a postcard. Until then, hopefully I'll be on time for next one. See you soon. Bye for now.